taxes ultimately do get passed on to renters. If you have a property that you rent out, of course you're going to pass it on to your renters. So I think the commission should be looking at the budget with respect to setting the millage rates lower, what they used to be perhaps, to attract people to move here and concentrate on building the infrastructure that people want. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Joe Bailey. Welcome back, Joe.
Thank you. I'm Joe Bailey, 4079H Noonan Road, Griffin, and I'm got something kind of short. It's kind of happens, it seems like this time every year. The commissioners are setting the budget, and it seems like it's your favorite thing on your budget list, and it's collection centers. And it's the only thing I think I come here on a regular basis to talk about. And anyway, and I think it's kind of I'd like to think it was a humorous thing in the newspaper where we were doing a comparison of the county homes and everything, along with the Sun City and the city of Griffin, all having their pickup garbage there and everything. These are two different entities all together. And Spalding County also has 4 major highways that come through here. 3 of them are 2-lane. And I'm saying this in effect about having garbage that's, in containers that's set out at the highway. And where I live, the traffic between down 16 from the other side, from 75 to 85 truckers, think it's a whole lot faster to go across the county. Makes getting out of my driveway terrible. And plus on Sun Cities and the Griffin, these folks have driveways that are, what, 40 feet, 45 feet long. That's not too bad to drag a dumpster down and put it, but when you're talking about people out in the county that have a quarter of a mile, half a mile, I'll be real interested to see how all that could play out. And the humorous part was comparing to Sun City and Griffin have their golf carts that they can travel around on. We're not interested in golf carts out in the county on traveling on the roads and everything. It's bad enough as it is. Right now, citizens have options if they do want to have garbage pickup. There's several businesses that will do that for them, and it happens all the time. And it happens all the time that I see that they've set it at the road, and these big trucks going by at 50, 60 miles an hour cause such a draft of air that it'll turn them over, and who picks that stuff up? The garbage company doesn't pick it up. And so I would like to think that each resident out in the county at least has their own right that they can choose if they want garbage pickup or if they want to use the collection centers. I think it'd be wrong. I think it's terrible for you to be assigned, that you may assign somebody the garbage pickup for raising the taxes. Charge us at the collection centers, but not by saying you got to have your garbage picked up like that. And the other thing I was looking at was how having all these dumpsters down the road and everything improve the look of Spalding County. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe.
Kenneth Peak.
Hi, Kenneth Peak, 5555 West McIntosh Road here in Griffin, and been here, born here. So I appreciate what our commissioners are doing. You've got a tough job on your hands and have to raise a lot of money. And let me tell you, County Manager Ledbetter, we're so glad that you are well and back in your seat.
Yeah,
and
thank
may
you, sir.
God continue to bless you and keep you.
Amen.
I happen to be the next door neighbor of Greg Burns. And you may not know who Greg is, really. He's a very humble man, but he happens to be the leading neuroscientist in the world that we have right here in our own county. He has done a lot of research on this as we sat together and tried to begin to develop what could be the possibility of giving any assistance at all possible towards doing the budget or in any way that we could serve. He did a lot of research on how to, on the other counties surrounding us and all the other things. Our millage rate is rather high, as he can show you, and he has a copy he'd be happy to give to you. I realize the stress that you're under of meeting all these needs that are in this county, because it is a big county. It's a lot of territory. The west side of the county, as we saw during the planning meetings that were before, the east side is going to be primarily industrial, I think, and then the west side's going where we live is going to remain so much as what it is, which is a good thing. We're happy about that. But at the same point in time, when you're on that side and folks like him who are, he's not as old as I am. He's 15 years younger than I am. I'm getting real old. And so it's a lot different for him. But there are the others that are out there that are paying a lot in this. So as you meet that challenge, we'd like to sit and talk with you if there's a time when we can, and sit down and give you some whatever we can help you with. That's why we're here. We're all here together in this room to work out what we can do to make Spalding County a better place to live. Our schools, make them better, our churches, everybody else. So I pray that God will bless you and keep you, and that you'll consider what we're offering you tonight is an opportunity to just help you do some brain work if we can. May God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll take you up on your offer, I'm sure.
Mr. Chair, there's no one else who has signed up this evening.
Motion to come out of public hearing.
All right, I have a motion to close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. We're out of public hearing.
I think y'all missed a sheet.
Did we miss a sheet? That'd be on citizen comment.
We have citizen comment.
Yeah, we have citizen comments, but that was all that was signed up for the other sheet.
Those two sheets back here.
Yeah.
One is for citizen comments, one is for the public hearing. This was the public hearing.
Presentation, item number 5, presentation of financial statement. Presentation of statement for the period ending May 31st, 2024. Ms. Dye?
Good evening.
Good evening.
evening. This following presentation will be a summary of the county's financial activity as of May 31st, which will encompass revenue collections, expenditures, and encumbrances for the current general fund and fire fund only. As of May 31st, 11 months have passed in the present fiscal year, which accounts for 92% of the budget. General fund revenues, as you can see on the slide, are $70.2 million, which is 105% of the budget. General fund expenditures and encumbrances total $52.7 million, which account for 84% of budget. Fire district revenues are $10 million, which accounts for 79% of their budget. Fire district expenditures and encumbrances total $13.7 million, which is 108% of the budget. But to date, we have made $535,000 in payments on 2 of the new fire trucks, which is not accounted for in the encumbrance total. As of May 31st, revenues have been increased by 5% compared to the previous month, while expenditures have increased by 8%. The summary of revenue sources for May. The county has collected $51.4 million in taxes, which accounts for 73.3% of the total revenue received. These taxes include real property tax, current and previous year, interest and penalty on real and personal property, public utility tax, motor vehicle tax, ad valorem, tag and title fees for personal property, local option sales tax, alcohol, business occupation tax, hotel motel, and other miscellaneous taxes. Intergovernmental revenue totaled $10.1 million, comprising 14.4% of total reported revenue. These revenues are from local and state and federal sources, including real estate transfer tax, Georgia Highway Safety Grants, VOCA grants, Accountability Court Grant, DOT reimbursement, FEMA, Boost, and CSBG and reimbursements, and other grants.
So the intergovernmental revenue is mostly grant money?
Yes, it is, but for FY '25, the intergovernment revenue also includes the $7.2 million that we've collected from FEMA for the January '23
Okay, sure.
tornadoes. For charges for services in May, the county has collected $4.1 million, or 5.9%, which includes fees from probate court, adult probation and supervision fees, inmate housing, medical clothing reimbursements for both the CI and the Sheriff's Department, recreation fees, and recording fees. Spalding County collected $1.9 million, or 2.8%, in miscellaneous revenue, which includes reimbursements for resource officers, CI and Sheriff's Department inmate phone commissions, inmate store commissions, and CI detail reimbursements, and also spay and neuter fees. Fines and forfeitures generated $1.7 million, or 2.5%. License and permits account for $594,000. Contributions and donations account for $166,000, and investment income accounts revenues are $82,700. The expenditures and encumbrances for May: employee salaries and benefits and FICA taxes account for 56.9%, or $31.5 million of total expenditures. Purchases and contractual services such as radio and computer equipment and software, office equipment maintenance, travel, dues and subscriptions, education training, election expenses, telephone, circuit court budget, postage, auto and truck maintenance account for 29.2%, or $16.2 million. Supplies, which includes office and departmental supplies, utilities, uniforms, fuel, and small equipment, account for 9%, or $4.9 million. Debt service accounts for 2.1%, or $1.1 million. These expenditures include enterprise vehicle principal and interest, the airport authority bond principal and interest, Noresco capital lease principal and interest, and other lease principal and interest payments on equipment. Capital outlay and other costs account for 2.9%, or $1.6 million. This includes various park repairs and supplies, T-Splosh paving and sidewalks, the Cigna flexible spending account, street lights, the Griffin Spalding Developmental Authority, and the library. And to close, the total balance of all the checking and investment accounts in Spalding County as of May 31st is $67.5 million, showing a growth of $14.2 million since the start of the fiscal year. I wanted to note, on the chart, you'll see down at the very bottom, there is a cell that is highlighted in yellow that's $17.8 million. On June 15th of 2024, I was able to transfer $5,594,753 from our operating account to the general fund investment account, which will bring our fund balance total to $17,800,000. This amount is equivalent to 91 days for the FY '25 budget of $71.1 million.
Way to go, Miss Di.
And I'll be happy to answer any of your questions you may
That's-
have.
Where did the $5 million come from again?
Leftover from last year's budget?
No, that's not what.
No,
she
I
said.
moved it, if you look at the very top line, I moved it from the operating account and moved it into the investment account.
I heard what you said, but it meant nothing to me.
On the very first line, if you see where it says May 31st, the operating account had $36 million. And then on June 15th, it became $30.8 million. So I took $5.5 million and moved it into the general fund investment account, which makes our fund balance now at $17.8 million.
Those are earnings.
Yes, we put it into an earning account. The fund balance had previously been, since January of this year, 17.8 million. I directed Erica to move that $5 million into an interest-bearing account instead of our operating account so that we could gain interest off of those funds.
So, but what was that $5 million appropriated to in our,
It was not.
It was not.
okay.
Waiting to be spent.
It was sitting not gaining interest. We moved it into an interest-bearing account so that we could gain interest off of that additional funds. We had been reporting since January that we had $17.8 million in our fund balance. We did, but $5 million of it was sitting in the operating account, not gaining interest. We moved it into an interest-bearing account.
What was the interest rate, just out of curiosity?
Currently, our interest rate is
It's right at 1%.
It's 1%. We're making roughly $12,000 to $13,000 a month off of those funds. We will bring back to you in July an opportunity to put 10 million of those into a ladder so that we can gain additional funding. Currently, the IDA is gaining 5.25% interest on their funds. We want to do the same thing.
Yeah. And you stagger that so it's not locked, yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Ms. Dye?
I do, but I'll just ask later.
All right, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 5-0, motion carries. Thank you. Ms. Dye, if you could now update us on the FY23 audit?
As of today, the FY23 audit has not been finalized by our auditors. We are still currently awaiting the proper documentation from the Tax Commissioner's Department.
Thank you. I have a statement to read about this. I would like to share with our community the work your Board of Commissioners has undertaken regarding the fiscal year 2023 audit. In September of 2023, our Director of Finance requested the annual financial report from the Tax Commissioner's Office to begin the audit. Correspondence indicates that between September of 2023 and January 2024, our staff routinely requested financial documents but were unable to obtain the requested information. The county manager reported the delinquent financial documents to the Board of Commissioners and the county attorney in January. The reason that this is going to be important, this is going to be about $24 million worth of impact on us. So I want to tell you, and I want to tell everybody so that when you get, as we go through this, this is a huge impact on us. In February, the Board of Commissioners directed the county manager to prepare a letter to the tax commissioner with the following directives. We urge you, the tax commissioner, to take immediate steps to rectify the deficiencies identified in the financial management process of the tax commissioner's office and to ensure that all future financial activities are conducted with the utmost transparency and adherence to the Georgia law and established protocols. Our expectation of the tax commissioner's office was to work with Malden and Jenkins, our auditor, to complete the annual audit no later than March 29th, 2024. In mid-April, representatives from the General Association of Tax Officials were made aware of the situation, and they offered assistance to the tax commissioner, to include the assistance of a recently retired Georgia tax commissioner who was also a certified public accountant and an expert in the use of QuickBooks. The tax commissioner refused to offer the help, assured everyone that she would be seeking an assistance of a QuickBooks expert and the issues would be resolved quickly. Instead, the tax commissioner received help from QuickBooks Technical Support, which was unable to provide even the modest amount of assistance in completing the necessary reports. As of the afternoon of June 14th, 2024, the issues were not resolved. This is a serious matter with significant financial consequences. Should the Spalding County not complete the fiscal year 2023 audit by the end of June, the Georgia Department of Community Affairs will suspend our qualified local government status. Local governments must meet the statutory definition of qualified local governments to be eligible for the programs listed on the DCA website, with such including CDBG grants, bonds, allocation programs, One Georgia programs, redevelopment fund programs, GFA loans and grants, Georgia Department of Natural Resource grants, just to name a few. Local governments which do not fulfill the requirements articulated by the statute are, by definition, disqualified from participating in these programs. Local created authorities are likewise disqualified from participation when their creating governments are disqualified. According to our Director of Finance, Spalding County relies on grants to fund our ongoing projects. The current funding revenue is approximately $24.5 million. Your Board of Commissioners continues to support the work to complete our fiscal year 2023 audit. As you know, the Spalding County Board completed our portion of the audit in December of last year. Yet we cannot file the final audit until the tax commissioner completes her portion. Additionally, Spalding County is working alongside the Georgia DCA and the governor's office to ensure they understand the challenges we face. As a board, we continue to share our community in full transparency of what's going on. This is a big deal to us, so everybody knows. The county, as it says, can't do anything until we get the rest of the information provided to us. Then we can get it rolled up by the auditors so that we can provide it to DCA to be able to get this. So $24.5 million is at risk soon, end of the month. That means money that we have coming in will not be coming into this county until this audit is complete. We will be suspended at that time, and could be as long as until the tax commissioner gets the audit the information into the auditor, and the auditor gets the information into DCA. All right, so this is a big deal to us. All right, item number 3, update on the forensic audit. Ms. Dye?
Thank you, Chairman. Currently, we are compiling data and reports that the forensic auditors have been requesting. We have had 2 meetings with them over the past 2 weeks. We've also have weekly meetings set up with them. I have contacted multiple departments to gather the information that the forensic auditors have requested. Everybody is working with me, and we are diligently getting that information together.
Okay. So everybody understands, we have a concern from the citizens about how the audit, our money was being taken care of. We had a couple of issues that we got the Sheriff's Department involved in, and as a result, as a way of showing absolute transparency, we decided to spend the money to conduct a forensic audit of everything that we have, that we touch, so that we can show the citizens that our books are in fact clean. And this has been going on now for a while. So thank you for continuing to do that. Item number...
Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, could you amend the agenda to discuss the aquatic center fees for this evening? I think we discussed that during our work.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to put in before new business item, a presentation, or during the presentations, allow leisure services to make their presentation about the costs for the aquatic center.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 5-0, motion is motion is adopted. All right.
Where did you want to place that?
You put that in front of new
Number
business?
5 in presentations.
Number 5 in presentation would be great.
Okay. Okay, get it here. Item number, presentations and proclamations. National PTSD Awareness Month proclamation. CEO Kenyatta Walker, if you would please step forward. And we'd like to ask you to read the proclamation for all those involved.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here to read this proclamation. I'm Kenyatta Walker. I am the Chief Executive Officer for McIntosh Trail Community Service Board. McIntosh Trail is one of 22 community service boards in the state of Georgia. We are the safety net providers from Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, DBHDD. We receive a contract to provide funding for the mental health, the intellectual developmental disabilities, and the substance use disorder services. We serve 7 counties, with Spalding County being one of them. Here in Spalding County, we operate 21 programs out of 17 facilities.
Thank you.
Thank you. So proclamation in recognition of Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Month. Whereas post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, can occur after a person experiences trauma, including but not limited to the stress of combat, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, bombings, accidents, and natural disasters, and affects approximately 8 million adults in the United States annually. And whereas PTSD is associated with chemical changes in the body's hormonal system and autonomic nervous system, and is characterized by symptoms including flashbacks, nightmares, insomnia, avoidance, hypervigilance, anxiety, and depression. And whereas raising awareness of this condition is necessary to remove the stigma and to encourage those suffering to seek proper and timely treatment that may save their lives. And whereas between 10 and 30% of service members will develop PTSD within a year of leaving combat, while others may not develop symptoms until years later. And whereas the brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces who proudly serve the nation and risk their lives to protect our freedom deserve the investment of every possible resource to ensure their lasting physical, mental, and emotional well-being. And whereas despite its treatability, many cases of PTSD remain undiagnosed and untreated due to a lack of awareness of this condition and the persistent stigma associated with mental health conditions. And whereas combat-related PTSD stress among our men and women in the armed forces is significantly pronounced, given that they are often exposed to highly traumatic events for weeks, months, and even years. And whereas all citizens suffering from PTSD deserve our consideration, and those who are affected by PTSD from wounds received while protecting our freedom deserve our respect and special honor. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, the month of June 2024 is designated as Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Month to bring awareness to those with PTSD and to encourage people to reach out to their fellow citizens to provide support and remove the stigma associated with this disorder. Signed, Chairman Clay W. Davis and County Clerk Steve Ledbetter, PhD. Thank you.
Do I have
Motion to approve.
Do I have a motion and I have a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4. 5, excuse me. Okay. Step forward, we're going to take a picture. Are we centered up there, Larry? Okay.
That's good. All right. All right, me first. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, right.
Thank you for doing that. Item number 2, Juneteenth proclamation. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second? I have a
Second.
motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4, 5, 0. Thank you. Item number 3, tax assessor presentation. Mr. Johnny McDaniel and Robin Williams, if you'll come forward. We've been waiting a while for this presentation to come.
Good evening, Chairman Davis, Commissioners, Dr. Ledbetter, Ms. Wyndham. It is, again, good to see Dr. Ledbetter back in the saddle. And it's good to have an opportunity to be with you Commissioners again. This is our third opportunity, and it's been really interesting to get the line of communication open. Even though there's a firewall there, we can still communicate. So we thank you for this opportunity, and hopefully tonight we're going to bring you some good news. I'm an old person that technology has passed by, so we're going to have to get some help here.
Yep, we'll be able to get to it. Just a second. There we go.
Follow the down arrow.
Yeah.
Again, it is a pleasure, and I'm here on behalf of the appraisal staff and also the Board of Assessors. Mr. Joe Bailey is in the back, and Mr. Byron Pierce was not able to be with us tonight. But we are really, I think the board is working well. We were concerned that we were going to have 2 new members, but I think the board is working very well and very efficiently. We're going to do 3 things for you tonight as far as information goes. We want to give you an update on our staff. We want to talk a little bit about CUVA, and we want to give you what you're waiting for, the 2024 value assessments. Here you have the org chart. Last time we were here before you, we were down 3 people. I'm happy to say we are down 2, I'm sorry. But one of the other things I want to do right now is ask you to join me in congratulating, excuse me, Mr. Robbie Williams, who is going to be our new chief appraiser.
Way to go, Rob.
Robbie was our deputy chief, and over the last few months, he has really grown tremendously in his knowledge and ability to operate that office. So the board unanimously decided that Robbie was the man we wanted for the job for now. So that will make the deputy chief slot open, and we do have an opening for 1 field appraiser. And we wanted to do a little bit better than just showing you a cold org chart. So there's the friendly faces of the staff. And just so you know, you do not have to be blonde to work there.
I was wondering.
But we are down 2 people. We're working very hard. Robbie has been on the ball trying to get our people trained. Miss Teresa Ward just finished a week of training last week, and Skylar, our new field appraiser, will be attending class in the next few weeks. So we're working very hard to try to get everybody trained and up to date. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about CUVA. Dr. Ledbetter did an amazing job introducing to you the impact of CUVA on our tax base with how it impacts the Arthur Bolton corridor. Very significant. We want to give you a little bit of a picture of how it affects the county as a whole. Georgia Code 4857.4 allows for CUVA. CUVA is current use valuation assessment. And if a person enters into a CUVA covenant, they have that for 10 years. So
Excuse me, Johnny. Did you say current use or conservation?
Current use. Conservation is a category within current use valuation assessment. And I'll try to explain that a little bit better.
Me too.
One of the things you need to know, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment, is that the values for the land in a CUVA covenant are determined by the Department of Revenue, not by our department. And that's important to know. If you have a piece of property that is in CUVA, then it is assessed at 40% of the current use value rather than fair market value, and that can be very significant. What that does is, the spirit of the law is to prevent taxing people off their property and to give people incentive to continue a conservation or agricultural use on their land rather than selling it to a developer. And that's pretty much the spirit of the law. Agriculture, timber, and other uses come under the current use valuation. And again, the value is determined on the soil type. And you might have a piece of property that under fair market value would be valued at $5,000 an acre. But when it's in CUVA, it could be as low as $300 an acre. And that's determined by the Department of Revenue. There's a soil type for every parcel in Spalding County, in fact, the state for that matter. And they have a soil map that they go by to determine the values. I just said enough about that one. Well, something, I can talk about that one with, there's certain categories of uses that CUVA applies to. And one of the things, the reason I'm showing you this one is because I'd like for you to grab your legislators and see if they can't put some clear parameters around this rather than just giving us a lot of people think it's based on the size of the property, but according to the law, it has to be under 2,000 acres, and the only other size that's mentioned in the law is if they have wildlife habitat and it's less than 10 acres, then they have to establish proof that they are in fact managing a wildlife habitat. So anything between 10 acres and 2,000 doesn't matter. But the categories are raising and harvesting and storing crops. I'm not going to read through all of these. Y'all can read those. But one thing the legislature and the law does not do is talk about the scope and scale of these. So it's a problem because if you developed a scenario, you put it down in Spalding County, you put it down in Chatham County, you put it down in Towns County, you're going to get 3 different interpretations of it. So what does that mean? The law says you have to consider the use of the property. It has to be 51% that's dedicated to some agricultural purpose. And one of those things is you have to determine the marketability of whatever the product is, and you also have to determine the density of that product. And we've got places in Spalding County that have maybe a residential $350,000 house, a swimming pool, and 12 acres of pasture with 2 horses, and they got CUVA. And it's, you know, I'm kind of like the Cape Crusader about CUVA or against CUVA, but I think it's important. But I hope to help you understand that momentarily.
So, Johnny,
Yes, ma'am.
so this is saying that you only pay 40% of the current use, but you still may be making your income. You're still making your income if you're growing food or if you're, yeah.
Absolutely. If you have a parcel that's in CUVA, the law says we deduct 2 acres if you have a house on it. And that house and 2 acres would be assessed at fair market value. The balance of that parcel would be assessed at whatever the soil map dictates. It's kind of complicated.
That is sounding so crooked. I mean, I know you're not
well-
doing it, but I'm just saying.
Well, I'm gonna get to that in a minute too. Spalding County is 200 square miles. That's 128,000 acres. So why do I tell you that? To tell you that there are 947 properties in Spalding County that are currently under CUVA. And that's basically 30% of the land. Now, do you think 1/3 of Spalding County is agricultural?
Well,
Maybe you can include all the forestry.
I mean, I think so, but they making money off of the land just the same. So I don't get it why they can
In some
make
cases,
money and still not pay the taxes on it.
in some cases, they're making money. In other cases, they're avoiding taxes. Out of that 38,000 acres let me back up. 30% of those acres, or 38,000 acres is 30% of the acreage in Spalding County. The fair market value of those acres is $169 million. The CUVA taxable value is $26 million. So you understand why we need to be really, really tight on awarding CUVA designations. So that's $142 million difference between the fair market value and the current use value assessment. That represents about $2,044,000 in tax dollars. The first number there is value, the second number is tax. Of those 900 plus parcels, 378 are 20 acres or less. 167 are 20 to 30 acres, and 402 are 30 acres or more. So you can see it's almost equal between the 20 acres or less and the 30 acres or more. This gives you I love pie charts. This gives you a little bit of a picture. The gray, I don't know if you can see that or not, but the gray is 20 acres or 30 acres or more. The blue is less than 20 acres. So you can see that it doesn't look so bad right there when you're talking about acreage, but this represents the parcels, and it gets to be a little bit different picture. 40% of the parcels in CUVA are 20 acres or less. The fair market value of those 4,290 acres that are 20 acres or less is $26 million, but the tax value is $2.8 million. Now, if you take those numbers, that 142 million, and add it to that in excess of 800 million that's tax exempt, what could you do if you were able to assess those at fair market value?
It's crazy.
Millage rate going way down.
Now, here's what I wanted to get to. The difference between those in tax dollars equals to a shift. Now, you're not going to reduce your budget by that amount of money, so that amount of money's got to be made somewhere. You agree?
Yep.
Guess who's going to make it up? The rest of us who don't have CUVA. So I can assure you that we as a board are trying to really sift these things with a fine sieve to try to make sure that there is a bona fide, the law says it has to be a bona fide agricultural purpose, and there has to be a good faith effort to produce something. So we're trying our best to make sure that we get it right. Now, do y'all have any questions about CUVA?
I do.
Okay?
So if someone has a cell tower on their land and they're getting paid monthly or annually for that cell tower, how come they can still have that in CUVA?
That has to be cut out. Has to-
So what part has to be cut out? The part that is
The
the
part-
actual business?
The part that is dedicated to the cell tower. Now, you need to also understand this. A non-agricultural business on that parcel disqualifies it for CUVA. If you have an electrician business on your property and you got CUVA, not gonna work.
Okay.
It has to be agricultural related business.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? We just wanted you to, since Dr. Ledbetter had brought that to your attention, the impact in one area, we wanted you to see the impact on the entire county.
Thank you.
Now, this is what you came to hear. We're going to tell you about the sales ratios, and we're eventually going to get down to talking about the value changes for this year. As we talked about before, the standard level of assessment is supposed to be between 36 and 44 for the sales ratio. And last time we were here, we presented you with the beginning year, the January 1, sales ratios. They were, residential was 36.21, which is not good, but not devastating. Commercial was 3283. Agricultural was 3700. Industrial was 3222, with a combined overall sales ratio of 0.3617. And we want to show you what it is now. Residential is now, after adjustments we've made, is now 3904, looking better. Commercial is above 40, barely above 40. Agricultural, 41. Industrial is 40. Now, when we were here last time, you asked about doing a reval on industrial and commercial property, and we got you a quote of $260,000 for that. We were seriously behind at that time. Now we're looking at 40 and 40. So you might want to take that into consideration as to whether or not you want to go forward with that reval for commercial and industrial. The combination of all those is, Robbie, that number doesn't look right. Oh, okay. Follow the down arrow. That's the previous. Now we're sitting at 3982. Remember, 40 is the ideal number because that means you're not too low and you're not too high. So we are very close to where we need to be in an ideal situation.
So that first numbers, that was the numbers that the state had when they sent us that letter that said, you've got to get these up.
Those were
Now-
those were the numbers as of January 1st.
Right, okay.
And we were here in April. Those were the sales ratio numbers. Now I want to talk about the value review of county property, and I want to throw a little something in right here for you. Whether or not you talk about value increase, every homeowner who files homestead exemption is going to see a tax increase this year 'Cause last year, we were the benefactors of the homeowners tax relief grant from the governor. As of right now, there's no indication that we're going to have that again this year. And that resulted in several $100 savings for people last year. So be prepared. There will be a tax increase for those who were recipients of that grant last year. All right, let's break down the parcels. Believe it or not, there are 33,348 parcels in Spalding County, and you can see the breakdown there. Other is forest land, and
Actually, yeah, that would be for like forest land, that would be utility
Okay.
properties, those type of things.
all right, so the other is a small amount. Did y'all hear what Robbie said?
Mm-mm.
Utilities, property, and forest land.
Okay.
And there's your pie chart. 5% commercial, 11% is in CUVA, 4% is exempt, and as you might expect, 79% of our parcels are residential. Let me back up to this. Our mission
Bless you.
needs to be that we grow that slice of the pie and maintain or shrink those two. We know the commercial of the residential is going to happen. We know there are a lot of residential on the books right now, but we need as a community to find a way to grow that slice of the pie right there. Okay, let's talk a little
Johnny,
bit about.
say that one more time so everybody got it.
We need to grow that slice of the pie.
Commercial industrial.
And, you know, it's hard to, let me go back to this. It's hard to do anything about this slice right here, the exempt, because if they qualify, we're obligated to approve. As a matter of fact, we got 2 more coming up on our meeting tomorrow.
And that's like churches and other governments and that kind of stuff.
Churches, charitable organizations, government, schools, government and schools, to the tune of about $800 million. I want to talk a little bit about uniformity. Some people have the idea that uniformity is across the county. But uniformity is about neighborhoods, and what I mean by neighborhoods. Spalding County is divided into 355, I believe, neighborhoods. Wrong way. 355 separate neighborhoods, and basically that's a geographic area with residences of similar characteristics. And when you talk about uniformity, you can't compare. If somebody's willing to pay $250 a square foot for a home in Sun City, you can't apply those parameters to a home in one of the mill villages. They're not going to be $250 a square foot. That's why it's broken down into neighborhoods of similar characteristics. Your sales are compared against that neighborhood among homes that are going to be similar in nature. And there are 355 of those in Spalding County. And again, uniformity is just to make sure that it's uniform across those neighborhoods and equal among taxpayers who fall within those particular neighborhoods. All right, let's talk about values. Last year was pretty devastating to a lot of people. So this year, there's not going to be an across-the-board increase for everybody. It's going to be based on the neighborhoods. You're going to see by these slides that 16% of the properties increased only 1% or less, and in some cases went down in value. And there's some factors that I want to call to your attention. Remember, we had this event back in January of 2023, tornado that created a lot of damage around here. A lot of those properties were demolished, so if they had a value of X, January 1st, 2023, the tornado happened after that date. So now that value is going to be changed. In some cases, they haven't been built back. Some cases, the lots have been cleared. 55%, the bulk of the properties, will increase from 1% to 8%. That's through a combination of both real and inflationary growth. 29% of the properties increase higher than 8%.
Yeah, but that includes all those commercials, that number of for commercials and industrial went way up to become more, so that
Yes.
includes those.
Yes, this is all
This isn't just residents.
all classes of property. Why is that? Some of the tornado damaged properties have been rebuilt or remodeled. New construction in existing neighborhoods, new houses being built in existing neighborhoods. And again, real and inflationary growth is always going to be a factor. Some of the houses in 2023 were in various stages of construction. Now they've completed, so they get assessed at fair market value. Again, new neighborhoods, property splits. And believe it or not, sometimes people do things on their property without getting a permit.
No,
And
no, not in our county.
I've heard that. One of the good things about Eagle View that you approve for us to purchase is that Eagle View will better assist us in discovering these things. So some of the value increases are because we found somebody's swimming pool, or we found somebody's shop building, or whatever. Now, overall, the average increase is going to be 8% for the county, or just under 8%, but let's call it 8%. It's that time of the year when it's time for assessments to go out. I'm going to show you what the dates are. Tomorrow morning at the Board of Assessors meeting, we will approve the final values. And on June 25th, we anticipate the assessments are going to be mailed out. Robbie and I will be on vacation June the 26th for an extended period of time. Assessments will be mailed out, and if that date holds true, the deadline for filing an appeal will be August the 7th. Those could move one way or another, but right now that's what we anticipate happening with the assessments. We are going to do everything we can, and we'd like to have your help in announcing the mailing of the assessments. It's no secret that the United States Postal Service has had some little problems, and we want to make sure that everybody gets there. So we've listed some ways here that we're going to try to make sure the word gets out. But if there's any way you can assist us with that, we're going to put announcements in the newspaper. Ms. O'Connor has agreed to, I hope she knows about this, Ms. O'Connor has agreed to work with us in getting monitors in the city buildings updated to reflect this message. We're going to put it on, hopefully put it on city and county Facebook pages, and they'll also be posted on Q Public if you're familiar with Q Public. Now, this is what the announcement's going to say. If you have not received your 2024 assessment notice by the end of the first week of July, contact the tax assessor's office and we can send you one by mail, we can email one, or you can come by the office and pick up a copy of your notice at no charge. We understand that, there are going to be those snafus with the post office.
May I ask a question about that? Because we're moving in the digital world and things like that, is there any way, maybe not this time or next time, when we're creating portals and things like that, where maybe people can go in and download their own? That way it saves a lot of money, it saves a lot of time, and you have it right there.
We can, but we still have to mail those. We still have to mail them.
We're required to mail them.
That's fine, but as long as it's still available,
And by the way, this will be the last year that the estimated tax block will appear on the assessment notices. That's the good news. The bad news is you'll need to get acquainted with House Bill 581 because it's going to require that you post the anticipated rollback rate. And if you don't meet that rollback rate, when the tax bills go out, you got to take credit for not meeting that rollback rate. So it's It's a complex law. We spent 6 hours covering it in caveat. The voters are going to get 1, maybe 2 sentences on the ballot, and they are going to vote for this. So make sure, get familiar with it, because you're not going to like the taste of it. Values will also be posted, the 2024 values will be posted on QPublic, and we have added a module that will allow people to file their appeal on QPublic. The appeals can be submitted by email, by the post office, if you trust the post office. You can send it by UPS, FedEx, or you can bring it in and drop it off in person. So we want to make it as easy and as accessible as we possibly can. Any questions?
Johnny, you want to talk about extensions to those appeals deadlines?
Depending on the number of appeals we receive, that could be extended for another 45 days. Right? Extended 45 days. I'm paying you bigger money now. You better correct me if I'm wrong.
The actual appeal period is 45 days. When you're talking about.
I'm talking about people who
Don't
do
you?
send it by mail and it doesn't get there on time.
Yeah, so that is a factor we will, that's the reason we want to make sure that everybody is aware that they're out there and understand the different means they can get to get their appeal to us.
Ordinarily, the deadline is the deadline. And we understand. Of course, it's easy to say, mine got lost in the mail, but we do know there are instances of that. And again, if there's any way you have any ideas, we can get the message out there for people to be on the lookout. I know a lot of people don't get the newspaper anymore, but we would certainly appreciate your help in any way to get the message out there.
Do we still have a lot of outstanding appeals at the moment, or y'all have?
Debbie, we're about to finish up.
We have 2 more dates scheduled.
We have 2 more dates scheduled for
Yeah,
this year.
two more dates scheduled.
That'll finish up the 2023 appeals.
Robbie says
So
there's
right
about,
now they're going through July.
there are about 40 appeals left to be heard.
How's the show rate?
I'm sorry?
How's the show rate? People coming
Showing
in
up to
when they're
appeals.
supposed to?
Probably less than 5%.
Robbie
Okay.
says probably
mind.
less than 5% show up.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and we appreciate y'all and everything you do.
Thank
you,
you for
Chairman.
explaining that so well.
That was really well done. All right. And great news, by the way. Item number 4, Archway update. Ms. Ashford, welcome back.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. I am excited to present to you your quarterly Archway update. You have a one-pager in front of you that has the top 3 for your county and for Griffin, but I'd like to go over a few updates. We have had 2 completed projects this year. Both are dealing with recycling. The first one is the students have completed a design for the Spalding County Recycling Center. It was presented to community stakeholders, and plans are in the works to implement these elements if it is feasible. We also had students develop a recycling marketing plan for Spalding County. So once the recycling plan for the county is ready, a marketing plan is already in the works for that. Your current projects under your Achieving Prosperity Issue Work Group is a hardship reduction program, and this is a program for community members who may need multiple types of assistance but may not have the resources to travel back and forth to multiple locations. So included in this is a discussion of a one-stop shop for intake services for community residents, and that will be offered multiple times a year. Under economic development, which is a big one, there is a feasibility study for retail and housing usage on land use of U.S. Business 1941 from State Route 16 to Ellis Road. That project has been submitted for fall 2024. It's been submitted to the College of Engineering regarding the retail and housing portion, and the School of Ecology regarding sustainable initiatives such as green space and pedestrian traffic along that corridor. Under education, we have the Where Can You Go From Here marketing project highlighting different educational opportunities in Griffin and Spalding County. This is a comprehensive project to highlight those opportunities and how they can parlay into additional educational opportunities or career opportunities. This includes certificate programs, continuing education programs, et cetera. And the audience of this marketing is the Griffin and Spalding community at large and additionally high school students. The Education Issue Work Group is working on development of an adult and student life skills program. And with feedback from the parents and students, a list of life skills was developed that may aid in managing everyday life and building healthy relationships such as problem solving, effective communication, and more. It was noted that providing these skills should not necessarily be limited to students, which is why it is an adult possibility as well. Under your Housing Issue Work Group, we have a current summer 2024 project. We have a student who is working on research for funding opportunities for those who may need assistance with repairing their homes to avoid code enforcement or eviction, and this does not include landlords. The project under the Issue Work Group is a neighborhood minor home repair program where community volunteers will offer their expertise for minor repairs for homeowners who may need that assistance, also to avoid code enforcement. The second project under the Issue Work Group for Housing is a housing services education program. And this is development of a comprehensive financial literacy program for renters, those who rent to own, home buyers, and homeowners. And this program is slated to use local businesses and organizations who currently provide these services in Spalding County. Additionally, we have our Public Safety Issue Work Group, which will be meeting June 26th. So we will have a report for you at your intergovernmental retreat regarding that work group. And we are excited that you are adding a 6th work group on mental health. It will be added this year, and it will begin meeting in the fall. And the work of this group will also focus on the homeless population and your veterans. The last piece is your intergovernmental retreat will be held August 15th and 16th in LaGrange. More information will be coming about that in terms of the logistics, and I am here for any questions.
Questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. Thanks for all your work. New item number 5, aquatic center rates. Ms. Kelly?
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good.
evening.
In early spring, United Pool Management conducted a market study, and they wanted to hear from our residents, add in their responses, consider the per capita income, as well as the cost to operate the facility. With that, those recommended fees were then sent to the Parks and Leisure Advisory Commission, who approved to send them to you all. And it was an item on your agenda a few months ago, and it was tabled. So here we are to discuss those.
Okay.
I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
How about reminding us what the costs were? That's what we're talking about here, right?
Right, you should have that uploaded
On our agenda?
on your workshop. I think we saw that on there.
Okay.
Maybe not.
I didn't see it.
I believe, if I remember, we're talking about $6 for young and older, and $8 for the people in between. Just generally, we all remember. Is that what everybody remembers? $6, and $8. That's
So-
what they recommended.
What
us.
about
Okay.
monthly and year passes?
And there were some monthly and year passes, but I don't believe they were so great.
Aunt Reagan, can you pull that up, please?
I'm pulling it up now.
All right.
Okay.
So
all right.
a child aged 3 to 13 is recommended $6 for daily admission. Youth age 14 to 17 recommended $8 for daily admission. Adult 18 to 49, $8 for daily. And a senior adult 50 plus, $6 for daily admission. And these are open swim times.
You said $8 admission for seniors?
$6.
$6
Okay.
for 50-year-olds. All right.
And who
It's good to
determines
see you.
when open swim time is?
That schedule will be developed through the next few months of, after opening and seeing the flow of uses and once all the classes and those things are in place, when the swim teams are scheduled, this will all be a developing thing.
What about month passes and year passes?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
What about month passes and year passes?
It's gonna be on that paper.
Primary account holder, which will be the first adult on the account, would be $64 a month. Any additional member, $48 per month. Annual passes for resident, for the primary account holder would be $650, and additional member, $490.
So I spoke with Eric Mosley over in Troup County. I think they have an aquatic center opening soon. And he kind of gave me some of their rates, not to compare it to them. But I like to hear how our neighboring communities are doing. For children, he just basically laid out it's $2. For adults, it's $3. $50, I guess, monthly for family membership, and $30 $30 monthly membership if you want to just do it as one person. So I'm-
$50 a month for families?
That's what he says. So, I mean, I know the resources are different, I mean, no doubt about that. So I'm thinking, because theirs is brand new, ours is brand new. What are the, I mean, is that, I don't know, I see those numbers being very comparable to our surrounding
I'm
communities.
not familiar with their facility, so I don't know what
There
their
are-
facility offers.
Yeah,
Is it a two bodies of water,
I can't wrap my head around
indoor?
our annual pass being 10 times what an annual pass to Six Flags would be.
It
Like,
is an
I can't-
outdoor seasonal facility.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I've not visited it yet.
So help me understand why our annual pass would be 10 times what an annual pass to Six Flags would be. Like, help me, like, I mean,
I think
was that just a number they pulled out of a hat? Like, I don't understand, like,
Understanding the
that
cost to operate the facility, they're concerned about financial sustainability of the facility to reduce the burden on the county taxpayers.
so, not to get too far in the weeds of economics, but as you increase the price of stuff, less people use it. I get this. But as less people use it, you bring in less revenue. So there's this bell curve. When you want to be at the top of the bell curve, so the most people use it, so you can collect and redeem the most back from your maintenance and operations. There's no way we're not going to get $650. I mean, let me do math right quick. I went to law school, so I never had to do math again. But let me see.
Well, while you're doing
gotta go
that, I think
81
we're all in
times.
agreement that is, our community cannot afford that.
I mean, if somebody's arguing that point among the five of us, we need to hear about it, because right now, I believe that's too
I believe it's too much.
expensive for most of the people to be able to use our pool.
I mean, the day
My
passes
issue-
are right. I think that's actually a little low, but the month and yearly passes, that's excessive. That 10 times what it is to get a season pass to Six Flags, that makes no sense.
And we have a lot of seniors who are on fixed income that use the senior center and other services. And I mean, you know, and some of them will probably use it every day. I just think that, that for this community, that's too much.
My guiding principle that I'm most concerned with is what happens to our pool with people not doing the right things in our pool. That's my real big issue.
Such as,
Kids coming in there and breaking
Yeah, just like
toilets,
at Fairmont
this
when we-
is the
before we even
Fairmont
cut the
issue,
ribbon.
my
Yeah,
concern
yeah.
about Fairmont issue all over again, tagging and doing stuff like that. That's, the price is a little, I'm more concerned about, you know, one of the reasons the price is high is they're concerned about fixing, doing stuff, being able to keep it going and everything else. And it's just, I'm not trying to push that into it, but I want to make sure that people who are using the pool are using it and having fun there and not destroying our pool.
We have pool monitors and people. are
Right,
gonna be
there's
supervising.
people
There
who
is
are
a
working there.
camera system in the manager's office.
Well, and I spoke to United Pools, the folks that are running it as well, about ensuring that anyone under a certain age, whether it's 14 or 16, they were talking 16, is accompanied by an adult, like that they're, we're not a daycare. You can't drop your 8-year-olds off and
Go.
let us, you know what I'm saying? You have to be here with your kid. And I know in Peachtree City, it's 14 and older, but, Peachtree City also has a very different demographic of what we're after. You know what I'm saying? Those kids are all on the swim teams and stuff. So, I was okay with 14 or 15 or 16 being able to come without a parent, but like, certainly we need to make sure that like, if you're younger than that, there is an adult there with you. Like,
Absolutely.
Peachtree City.
We all, I'll make sure, we all agree with that, right?
all agree
We're all
with
in
that.
this agreement, so we don't need to argue
Even
that
when a
anymore.
parent is there. Last night, I was in Peachtree City with my sister-in-law, who's a city councilwoman there, and she got a text. They had to fish a 2-year-old out of their pool and revive the 2-year-old. The 2-year-old's okay, but like, it turns out the parents.
We're all in agreement. We're
just
gonna
on their
have
phones,
some kind of
like-
supervision to be able to take care of this.
Yes,
So
yes.
let's just
Right.
knock that out. The issue with me is the age bracket. We just gotta
I don't
figure
know
out.
if 50
what-
is a senior, y'all. Come on.
15,
50, it starts the senior pricing. I don't, look, raise a hand. Is 50 senior? I don't.
Our senior center is 54.
Right.
Okay,
Senior-
I'm
senior
just
center.
Yeah, I'm talking about
Just saying,
kids.
that-
I hate to say that, but I'm talking about kids. And how do they get there and all of that stuff. So,
And
okay,
that,
we're,
the
we all-
50
we're
forward
all in
is
agreement that we're
on
gonna,
this fee schedule.
we'll have to figure out, Park
Maybe
and
we
Rec
call
will
it
have to work
50.
out, Park and Leisure has to work out how we're gonna do the enforcement of this. But our policy is, they're gonna be supervised
Yeah.
in there.
Right.
with,
So-
And I'm not talking about, just to be pretty specific, the 16-year-old bringing the 3 kids there.
you gotta be an adult.
We're not doing that,
But
but,
we're focusing on the funding piece right now, right? Right?
That's
Because
correct.
we got, this pool is gonna be opening up in a couple of weeks. We
That's
need to get this
correct.
thing
We
figured
can't
out.
mark it without knowing what the fees will be.
Right, so, correct me if I'm wrong, don't we have money set aside this year to kind of go toward those costs, or did we talk about, can you speak on
Yeah,
that?
We do.
it's already in there.
We have full funding in the budget for the aquatic center for this year.
Okay, so we're
so
talking about
basically,
next
we
year.
can just let people use it if they want to.
Correct.
Good.
Till the end of the year.
Yes,
the
ma'am.
money.
Well, I mean,
Now, I'm kind of against that in concept. I'm in the $1, $2, something like that, to be able to do something, and I know not everybody agrees with that. but
No,
I-
I'm-
Y'all gonna make
What
my
I
head
think there
explode.
is, I mean, like I said, I just mentioned Troop County, I mean, there should be a cost at some point in time, you know? It should be. It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
what's reasonable.
I think the day
Gwen,
passes
what's your
6 and
number?
8 are
I mean-
low, but I'm okay.
And I know, let's just,
I mean, I think if that's the case, then we can do $1 or $1 for kids, $2 for adults. Because if we've already paid for it for this year, that will give us more time for them to see what the numbers.
You talking about till July 1st?
He said January, right, is it January?
No, it would be funded from July 1st until June 30th of next
No,
year.
No, I'm just talking about until the end of this year.
January?
I
Okay.
mean, like December 31st.
Okay, so,
One of our concerns is you can reduce fees much easier
Yeah,
than you can
exactly.
raise fees.
That's correct.
Which
So
again,
just throwing a number on there is difficult to manage on the end, at the
So-
end of the period.
And I'm just gonna kind of contradict what you just said, because when we opened the senior center, we were charging this enormous amount of money, and we couldn't figure out why nobody was using it. It was just out, I mean, we felt like what it is that we needed to have done to it after the place was used, those are how we got the numbers. So, I think that part of the expectation for people is that stuff goes up. So yeah, I mean, I think, as far as I'm concerned, if we have the money, people, the community should be able to use it at no cost. It's their stuff. But if we have to have a number, I think it should reflect, our seniors. We got people in several silver sneakers. We got other people who may want to come and do aerobics or arthritis training or whatever.
Those will be classes taught by contractors.
So-
So it'd be a
And then they would pay for it.
70-30
That's
split like
Yeah.
we do everywhere else.
That's,
The-
yeah, that's a different cost.
The other important thing to note is this will be a cashless facility.
What about Silver Sneakers, really?
Silver Sneakers would be, the company would have to apply for that because it wouldn't necessarily be our contract with Silver Sneakers.
Well, I mean, they got it at the Racket House, at all of the gyms. So I'm just, you know, do we have to say to them, yeah, we need y'all to do that? Because, I mean, clearly you can come and take an aerobics class at the senior center and not pay because you're in Silver Sneakers.
I've planted that seed, but it's something that will have to be
Yeah,
worked
but they work
on.
for us, right?
Let me
So
ask you,
we're the boss of them.
And see, I'm okay with like giving them a month or two of something to come in and try it, but it's only fair to the taxpayers and the people that's not gonna be using
Yeah.
the pool to at least keep the cost up, and I'm
Yeah.
agreeable with the $6 and $8 range. I'm glad that our Troup County counterpart down there is doing awesome stuff down there, but he was part of the problem back in 2016 when this was planned out without any operation costs.
Yeah.
So he learned from his mistakes. I applaud him for that. This place right here is awesome. It's so technologically advanced that when something tears up, it's gonna cost us some money. So I'm
It's
all
a
for-
brand-new pool. It should not have stuff tearing up. That's what I'm saying, just like the bus that we bought for whatever we did for the
has the
seniors.
senior center torn up?
We-
I mean, how's the money being on?
like a car.
Well, but I'm just saying, what
Pools are
guarantees
holes
do
in the
we
ground you
have?
throw money in. Like, I having been the victim of a pool in my last
Oh, I
house, there are
get it.
holes in the ground
So
you throw
Steve,
money at.
let me ask Steve a question here. So this year, you're talking about, if we decide to do the funding free basically for the year. Does this also apply to non-Spalding County residents?
No.
Okay, so they're gonna continue to pay?
Yes.
And how will that be monitored?
They are, as you came in the door for the employee appreciation, you noticed there was a young lady that was taking count of how many people were coming in. When we open the facility, she will register you as you walk through the door. So she will know who is there and she will keep a record of that. The opportunity that we have is show your ID. I see your point, because if parents are bringing kids in, they could bring kids from outside of the county to participate. That's an issue I don't think we're going to be able to get around, because not every kid's going to carry an ID.
But we have children to sign into Rec 1 when they're brought into the rec centers. So does Rec 1 have a photo, allow you to do a photo?
Yes.
It does.
Okay, so when that child shows up, they have to provide some information with name and address, and it'll be clear enough that where they live.
Correct.
You know,
And that's how we're going to need to manage this opportunity.
I'm not super bothered. Like right now, I've got a nephew at my house who lives in Peachtree City, and he's here for the week. Like, I'm not super worried if my wife brings my kid, and now, you know, the difference is $3. That's not a huge hurdle for me. The issue would be if, you know, a bunch of Butts County or Henry County people were just using it to swim every night. There should be a difference in like cost. But if, you know, should nephew pay $9? Yeah, but like, I'm not super like that. We're so in the weeds at that point. You know what I'm saying?
How about,
Relatives come
let's
visit.
do the cheap,
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not, if it's a 1 or 2 off, I'm not super, like, we
about
don't need to
from-
be there taking like DNA samples. It's like, it's
No,
okay
I
if,
know,
you
I get it, but we
how
know that
about
happens.
1 July
Yeah,
to
yeah.
31 December? Let's do a very reduced money,
no.
and then 1 January, start and go with what United Services say,
Wildly against that.
okay?
Wildly against that.
Which side?
I personally think that 6 and 8 is too low. I think it should be 8 and 10. I think that the month and the 10 packs and the year passes should be significantly lower. But it's not fair to the taxpayers that aren't going to use this facility, which is the overwhelming majority of taxpayers, that they have to subsidize the maintenance and operations for all the people that are going to use this facility. That is.
That's the same
That makes
thing
no
that's at the
sense.
pickleball court. Only a small percentage of the community uses it, but we make sure they have lights, we make sure that they've got walkways that need to be done, and I'm not taking anything from them, but I'm saying that is just the case of how it is. I mean, if you play disc golf and we maintain those areas and cut the grass and repair all the goals or whatever, only a small group of people are gonna use it. I think that, and I totally hear what you're saying, but you don't meet the mean demographic income-wise that is in this community. You're in that group of individuals whose median income is much higher than what the median income is for this community.
That's not true.
Okay.
I'll show you my tax returns. It's not true.
You have two working professionals in your house. You've never been on food stamps. You've never gotten assistance from AFDC. You're in a two-parent home.
How do you know that?
Hey.
Wait,
Okay.
but
How do you know that?
well, maybe you did. But my point is, I'm making an assumption. That
Right.
as a grown man, you are not getting those services now. You are able to afford those things, and that's fine. But this is Spalding County and the city of Griffin, where we know that the demographics are that the median income is much lower than what an average college person with a college degree makes.
This is, I know, pretty tough. This is gut wrenching. That's why it's kind of worked its way to the very end for us to make the decision on this. We kind of kicked this down and kicked this can down the road to be able to do it. But I think, unfortunately, we got to make that decision
Well, and
tonight.
Clay, we have known all along as we bounced this around, there were at least two of us on the board who totally agreed that the aquatic center shouldn't be where it was because the people who were using the swimming pool weren't able to get there. You and I have talked about this the entirety of the time. The demographics have not changed. And so what I hear in my community is that y'all built the pool out there so we couldn't get to it. Now, whether that is true, it certainly wasn't true for me, but it's very real, okay? So when we look at these numbers, I get it. We have to be able to generate some income. And I never expect that over the 20-year period that I have been here, that we have ever had a facility that actually paid for itself that was recreation. Just as the recycle center, which everyone calls that the trash, that's where they deliver trash, was a whole different concept than from what it is today. And we still are not making any money. It is costing us that money to do that. So I just think that we need to not, we need to look at how it is that it can best serve the community, certainly be able to get the use that we need out of it. But if we have already paid for the pool for this year, we do have ARPA funds that could maybe help offset the cost of this, in which case, if we say that that price should be half of what it is, and I'm just using that as an example, then maybe as a county, we would take the other portion, and, well, it's paid. It's already paid.
It's
So-
not paid. It's not paid. Just because we budgeted it, part of that budget is that we're gonna recoup, hopefully, several $100,000 in that cost. If we then undercut that changes
I
the whole
don't
dynamics of
think-
the budget.
I don't think that we are counting a recoup. That the money that we would have recouped to pay the bill has been paid for in the budget that we're going to approve. That's 1 million, blah, 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 whatever it is, the total operation. So, I mean, that's just where I am.
Okay. All right, I'm starting at the end. Rita, where are you?
I'm thinking if we use the money this year, basically to take care of the fees, I don't know if that's really doing the citizens a service, because knowing that we're going to come back the next year and charge up.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody, thanking us for that. I know it sounds good, but at the end of the day, enjoy it this year, but next year, you got to pay this high price. I think we just need to just decide on $3, $3, whatever that is, $3, $5, I'm flexible, now, and stick to it. And like Kelly said, maybe a little bit higher, and then maybe we could bring it down, but definitely not raise it. So I'm good with $3 for kids, $5 for adults, or something like that, somewhere in the middle range there. If Troop County is a lot lower, and maybe what you're saying is correct, that's an awful good price for them. you know?
Okay?
We should be there, but I know we're not. But I think we do have, I'm good with $3, $5 for adults.
All right. James?
When Troop County lends us the Callaways, and when Spalding County gets to a position where 79% of the taxes aren't paid for by residential property taxes, then maybe we can go to $1 or $2 at our aquatic center. I personally think that, like I've already said, the day passes are $2 too low here, and the month and year passes are too high. That said, I think the compromise position here is to go with what's been recommended. We can always move those year and month passes down. It's extremely hard to move things up, as Kelly has said. So I'm going to make the motion to approve this. Y'all can continue to talk about it.
Yeah,
I'm
just
making-
hold on, let's get everybody's, okay.
That's my motion.
Gwen?
It needs a second, Nick
Yeah.
second.
I think that we should definitely go with a reduced price. When I saw the prices at Leisure Services, I thought that they were too much for this community. I am fervent that a household that has 3 kids in it, or 4 kids who might want to swim every single day, will be paying a mortgage before the end of the month is over. Is there something else for kids to do? Not in water. Maybe in Henry County, you know, but yes,
What's your number?
my number is 2 and 4. But only till December,
Okay. And then-
half of the fiscal year.
And then, at the beginning of the calendar year, you say go to 6 and 8?
I think that we should be able to come back, let Leisure Services come back to us with a
Review.
different maybe it'll be the same recommendation, but we will be able to gauge what sort of usage that we have, because I don't know that we know what that's gonna be.
Okay. Vice Chairman?
Like I stated earlier, I can live with a couple of months at a reduced rate, but time is money. I mean, as much time as we hold back on it, like I said, it's just so much there. It's just so much stuff that can go wrong. But the $6 and $8 is probably where I'd like to stay at. But if we, like I said, if we do some kind of promotional opening for the first month, 2 months, to allow everybody to get in to enjoy it and see if they really want to be there.
I can see that.
How are you
I can
with
see
that?
I can see that.
Okay.
Like
Chairman?
free July.
County manager? You get a
I
vote.
don't, it's not fair to ask him that.
Okay.
It is
Clay,
not
where are
fair.
you with-
Clay, where are you? Come on.
Yeah,
man.
where are you with this?
You don't get to skip yourself.
Yeah, I really wanted to have all the people be able to go to the pool for free. When I originally heard about the pool, I thought it was going to be kind of like City Park pool. And I thought that was a free pool. I wasn't here when it was there, and I thought everybody was going to be able to go to the pool for free. I understand James's point about this is money. This is where we are with it. This is what the people who are professionals at it. We hired them to be able to do it for 6 and 8, and they came. That's what they said that they are. I'm for kind of like the vice chairman. Let's get through the summer period, meaning August, September, something like that, at $2 to $3, $2 to $4, something like that, and then in 1 September, go to 6 and 8, which is what
I can do that.
Parks and Leisure recommended to us.
I can do that, just to get more people in.
Yeah, and not everybody see it. Nobody's seen this thing.
Almost a marketing
This is,
ploy, yeah.
And we can find out. And if we have problems between now and 1 September, then we'll know, hey, we got to do something different. Now,
If we're gonna do that, we might set this as the rate and then vote to give a reduction for that time so that everyone already knows this is the rate. It's currently on sale. You know what I'm saying? That it's a.
So, starting
So
1 July.
communication's gonna be key here.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
So, I
Like,
mean,
hey, it's already here. We're not raising
I'm
it on you.
just
It's been
looking
here
at
and now
y'all.
we're.
What'd you say, Gwen? Okay,
Yeah.
so we're saying, starting 28 June, which is when it opens.
That's correct.
28 June, it's $6 to $8, $6 and $8, but we're going to discount it, sell, whatever the right words are, to 2 and 4, 3 and 5, 3 and 5?
Whatever.
What, I want to know,
Yeah, cut it in half.
dollar-wise, what the return is gonna be. If they're asking 6 and 8, and they're asking 8 and 12, and then it's 6 and 9 for seniors, if that is, if $1 is off of that, or even $2 is off of that, what is that in terms of the income that we're pretending to think that we're gonna generate? I mean, really, if 300 people use it in 1 month, and you take $1 off, that's $300. That's really gonna make a big deal in how paying the electric bill and paying the water bill. So I hear what you guys saying. I'll go with what the majority says, but without having some real numbers to know what the difference is. I mean, we're walking around talking off the top of our head about spending a ton of money for a veterans building. Okay, I'm a veteran. I might have to go in there one day, but that's a small group of people. Okay, so I don't like it when we give grace to some people and not to others. It's about money for some people, but it's not for others. So I would love to know what those real numbers are so that I can feel comfortable that the difference that we think that we're going to generate on sales is worth it. I've worked in a hotel where they charged $150 a night for a room. During the races, they charged $250 a night. But in the winter, nobody's coming in. Guess what? They started charging $99 a night for the room. Do we want people in there, or do we want to have a pool that looks great and it's warm, but there's no butts in it? So, yeah, that's just my thought process on whether or not this is going to net us the kind of money we think
We
that
have
we're gonna
11
make.
days before we open up.
The M&O is a sliding scale. I mean, the more people you put in a pool, the more they take water and chemicals out of it and stuff. So the more people that use it, actually, the more expensive it is. Of course, the fixed costs are larger than the variable costs, I believe. I mean, I don't know what the price of chemicals are. That said, if we lower it by $1, maybe we actually make the same amount of money because more people come, even if it's just by a few, but then it costs us more. So again, there's a bell curve of the cost and there's a bell curve of the revenue that's generated. If it's $1,000, no one's coming. So just because you're raising the cost doesn't mean you're making more money. So you want to hit wherever the top of that curve is. You also want to hit wherever the maximization, like the bottom of that cost curve. So you gotta balance those. I think we're going to get a disproportionately high amount in the summer and with the introductory cost. So it's going to be weird to have to tease that out to try to find those numbers. This is the kind of thing I used to geek out about in economics. But I think this time next year we'll certainly know a lot better.
Yeah, because after September, you're not gonna probably have a lot of participants anyway.
It's when school opens back up.
No.
This is a time for kids to go during summertime. Once the school year, they're going to school. So whatever that's 8 to 3 or whatever, they're not there. They may go in afterwards, but from 8 to 3, all those kids are.
There are gonna be other activities,
Kedron
there's sporting
Aquatic
events,
Center.
football games, other stuff like that's gonna come in too.
Sure.
So
But
again,
Kedron-
where are the numbers that justify
We don't-
what we're saying?
11
United
days, we
Pools-
gotta have the number.
Yeah.
All right.
United Pools runs Kedrick Aquatic Center in Peachtree City, and theirs is an outside pool, but they put like a big blow-up dome over it in the winter. It's really weird. But I've been in summer and I've been in winter, and their use is about the same. Now they do close their two. They have 3 total pools. They do. Well, I guess they only have 2 pools now. They do close the Glenlock pool, which is they can't cover because then it's just too cold. So I think the use does go down in total, but Kedron stays hopping, and it's 2 pools and like a basketball court, and it stays hopping even in the winter. So, and I want to say theirs is 8 and 10, 8 for in county and 10 for out of county residents. I think that's what we were charged last time we were there. But again, United Pools runs both, and so they'll be able to sort of plot. They're recognizing the difference in demographics here too with these recommendations, so.
All right, 2 to 4, 2 and 4 till 1 September, 6 to 8 after 1 September?
Well, Mr. Chair, I think you've got a motion on the table for 6 and 8.
I'll rescind my
All right.
Okay,
motion.
all right.
And then,
All right.
and then I'll make the motion to set it at this, starting June 28th, but giving an introductory discount so that people can come in and try it from June 28th to September 1st to cut the day rate in half, not the packs, not the year rates, but just cut the day rate in half. So that would be 3 and 5.
3 and 4.
3 and 4. 3 and
Yeah.
4. I can do math.
So you're gonna go up before Labor Day,
Isn't Labor Day the first weekend?
first Monday of
First Monday of September.
What?
I was saying 1st September, I didn't want to get into that, just, I was doing days.
Yeah.
All right,
Definitely after Labor Day.
I have a motion, do I have a second? Ryan, are you second?
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second.
Repeat the motion, please, Mr. Chairman.
We're setting it at this, but giving.
At this, what is
6
this?
to 8, 6 and 8.
What's on your screen there? The
After
six-
Labor
6 and
Day.
8. No, we're setting it at this, and then we're giving until September 1st. The motion is to give September 1st, cut the day rate in half. So not the package rates or not the, but just the day rate in half. So that'd be 3 and 4.
We're going to allow people to come in, starting on the 28th, at what rate? 3 and 5?
3 and
3 and
4.
3 and 4. Half cut it in half.
As sort of an introductory, give people a chance to come in and see it at a discount. See it, love it, then want to come
So
back.
if I bring my child to swim and I don't get in the water, I just pay to sit on the bench with them and watch them?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it is entrance to the facility, right? It's
It
not
is.
I
necessarily.
don't think it would be a cost to watch your child.
Okay.
What? Say that again?
I don't believe there will be a cost to watch your child swim.
That's gonna be hard to track.
Yes.
It's gonna be a track that.
No, I
They'll do
mean,
wristbands.
Really?
Wristbands.
That gets,
Wristbands for the non-swimmers.
Wristbands for the swimmer or non-swimmer, either way.
We don't want wristbands in
And
the water.
under all circumstances, we agree that, what age parent, what age were we picking? 12, 14?
14 and older doesn't, I don't think need to have. There was a high school age.
Yeah, 14 and
Ryan,
older.
you know more about this than a lot of us.
United was
No.
saying 16, but
Okay.
I think
So-
if we run into problem with 14 and 15-year-olds, we can always raise it.
Yeah, usually that's not the issue that I'm most concerned with. So, up to 13 years old,
Gotta have a
require
parent.
parent,
parental.
guardian, some words in there to be able to do that. Not the 16-year-old kid,
Right,
older
parent or
brother or
guardian. Yeah,
sister.
it can't be an older brother. or
Be
sister.
able to do this.
And we might want to say each parent can watch 3 kids at most. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want one parent to bring 10 kids. They're not gonna be able to watch 10 kids. You know what I'm saying? And our lifeguards aren't babysitters. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not fair to.
Well,
You know what I mean? Like,
if mom and
Maybe-
dad,
maybe
if
we just
mom
defer
brings
to-
in her brood,
yeah.
whatever
She's
her
paying for
brood
it.
is, that's good by me.
He's paying for it.
However she controls them. And
We just-
there's
I mean,
gonna be.
There were
there's
2
gonna be
parents
some-
last night with a 2-year-old.
You're
that had
leaving
access.
and you're not coming back for the next 2 weeks. You
No,
know,
if you drive your kid off and just leave, like, you can't come
Yeah.
back.
Mr. Chairman, I'm very unclear on the motion, and I mean, you're.
We're just talking about
getting
tangential
way
stuff now.
into-
This is-
You're getting far afield of fees and way into.
Right,
rules
to
and
policy that
regulations
should be
and
happening
policies
as
for
a
this.
recommendation from Leisure Services.
That's correct.
okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Just for clarity, a motion and a second for $6 and $8,
Yeah,
but will be discounted to half rate until September the 1st.
right.
And children 13 and under are requiring parents.
Yes.
Correct.
Parent or guardian.
Guardian, whatever right words you want to use.
Okay.
Okay?
So
And
What
when,
about caregivers? Caregivers
Yeah.
may not be parents or guardians,
Somebody
babysitters.
that's
It's true.
There still needs to be an
Somebody that's
adult.
acting in local print.
And it was my understanding that non-swimmers don't pay.
Was that part of the, I don't think that was part of the motion. I think that was just
I
further
think the
discussion.
nuances on all that kind of stuff, we give to United Pools and we let them
Yes.
figure that out.
Let Kelly come back to us and talk to us about that.
Okay.
Okay, because we're interested.
We're just setting the rate that they,
Yeah.
So,
Right, and
one more
supervision.
question. So, when the rate changes after or in September, are we not charging youth $12 daily and adults $12 daily? Because that's what the chart says.
yeah.
That's,
I understand.
that's non-resident.
Non-residents,
non-resident.
non-Spalding County.
Okay, how much do we charge if a non-resident plays in a sports here? What do they pay?
Out of $30 out of county fee
That's
So
for
they pay more.
each.
for each sport they play.
Okay.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, okay. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 3, all those opposed? 2, motion carries. You have what you need, what you all need?
I think so, yes, sir.
All right,
Now we're going to citizen comment.
item number 7. Citizens' comments. Speakers must sign up prior to the meeting and provide their names, addresses, and the topic they wish to discuss. Speakers must direct your remarks to the board and not to individual members or to the audience. Personal disagreements with individual members or county employees are not a matter of public concern, and personal attacks will not be tolerated. The chairman has the right to limit your comments in the interest of disposing of the county's business in an efficient and respectful manner. Speakers will be allocated 3 minutes to speak on their chosen topics as they relate to matters pertaining to the jurisdiction of the Board of Commissioners. No questions will be asked by any of the members during citizen comments. Outbursts from the audience will not be tolerated. Common courtesy and civility are expected at all times during the meeting. No speakers will be permitted to speak more than 3 minutes or more than once unless the board votes to suspend this rule. Dr. Ledbetter, do we have anybody to speak?
Yes, sir, we do. We have 2 signed up this evening. Mr. Laney Hook.
Mr. Hook?
All right. Mr. Michael Middlebrooks. If you would, please state your name and your address for the record, please, sir.
Welcome back.
Hello, Michael Middlebrooks, 1108 Maple Drive. I sent everybody an email earlier because I obviously signed up on the wrong sheet for the first round. One thing that came up amongst a lot of people is obviously the aquatic center and the newspaper article that came out last week. And I just want to clarify something because maybe I misunderstood it, or maybe I thought I heard something I didn't. But I was under the impression that the 91 open positions that weren't filled last year, was that not voted on to be used as county employee payroll increases? But did that not come up in April, that money was going to be moved to the new budget? And if so, if I'm correct, based on the article in the paper, there's $3.5 million to be used for supplemental projects. Where did that $3.5 million come from? Because that's $7 million. And in the previous presentation by Ms. Dye, the monies that were moved from the operating account to the general fund, the $5 million, and I think Ms. Taylor was trying to ask the question, where did the $5 million originate from? I think that I understood it's $5 million of money that got moved to an investment account to accrue interest. But where did the $5 million come from? Is it just excess money? Is it money that was part of the found money from the unpaid purchase orders from last year? There's just a lot of questions here, and I don't, the clarity's not there. We got a $10 million swimming pool up here, and we're fighting over $2 and $3 entry fees, and discussing whether grandma can watch kids swim for free, and we don't know who's gonna come to this pool or who's not at this point. We don't know whether it's gonna pay for itself or whether we're gonna be on the hook for $500,000 a year as taxpayers. It's unknown. We all know that. Especially considering the location. But that being said, there's been discussion of creating transportation to and from. That's not on the taxpayer. That's not our burden. The burden is gonna be for those of us that choose not to use the aquatic center, to be a part of paying to maintain it for what it doesn't take in. Getting people there or not, that's not our issue.
Thank you. Nobody else, right?
No, sir.
Item number 8, consider approval of the minutes of the Spalding County Board of Commissioners zoning public hearing on May 23rd, 2024, and the Spalding County Board of Commissioners work session and regular meeting on June 3rd, 2024. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. 5-0. Thank you. Motion carries. New business. FY25 Council of Accountability Court Judges Grant Activation of Spalding County Accountability Court.
I don't believe he's here this evening.
Okay. As I understand it, this is the annual
It is.
money to send, to do this regular, and this is for the same 25 people we've been doing.
That's correct.
So everything is basically the same all the way around.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do I have motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
This
Yes,
is
Ms.
budgeted already, correct?
That's correct.
So this is, you're saying activation of the grant?
We annually activate this grant with,
Isn't this a grant that has to be applied for annually?
no, ma'am. That we don't do it internally. Judge Thacker does it across the street.
For the accountability court?
Yes, ma'am. He does the paperwork for this.
Okay, and the money comes from who?
Let me make sure I get this correct. It is the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council.
Is that a state entity?
Yes, ma'am, it's a state entity.
So if this doesn't get in before June the 30th, and we're no longer a qualified legal government,
This is at jeopardy, yes, ma'am.
It's just one of the things that's at jeopardy. There's a lot.
$4.5 million.
Okay, that was my question.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 5-0. Motion carries. Item number 2. Consider an amplification permit request for 466 North McDonough Road. The applicant requests the permit for a Sweet 16 birthday party. Director.
Thank you, Chairman. So the applicant is not here. We did anticipate that she was going to try to make it, but she's not here. So I want to point that out before I start because it does say that she's supposed to be here. So that will be your latitude to decide this in her absence, should you choose. It is a 5-hour event, but because it goes past a certain hour, you all have to decide. It goes past 9 o'clock. It is Suite 15, I assume that's right, not 16, but, and of course, we would recommend that you approve this, and, you know, one of the things that we like to remind our applicants is, when we get reports that you in fact didn't stop at 11, you don't get to apply for another one. So, but again, for this particular, she's on 17 acres, it's in agricultural zoning, and we would recommend the approval of this.
Do I have a motion to approve? Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
I just had a question.
Yes.
I was wondering. I didn't know it was 11 o'clock. I thought it was 10 o'clock.
Well, it's actually 9. If it goes past 9, y'all have to approve it.
Okay.
But it's 5-hour block of time,
Okay.
but anything past 9, y'all have to approve it. It's 9, right?
I've heard that either. Have you ever done
Okay.
that?
So according to the map that she has in her application, on McDonald Road, there are 3 parcels in the front, another parcel behind those 3 parcels, and then a flag-shaped parcel. How do you access that? I mean, there's no road on the backside, so,
I don't know if you can see that there actually is a road that's parallel to the property, to the adjacent property. I mean, I don't know, do we have this?
there's like a little line.
Yeah, so that's actually I guess it's a driveway, for lack
Driveway.
of a better term, but there is an access point along the property line so she must have an easement.
Okay, I was just trying to figure out, it looked like it was landlocked. How was anybody gonna get back there? Did we request them to, I mean, clearly there are people living close to them. Are we requiring people to notify the neighbors that they're gonna be doing this?
Well, on the application, it actually says that he or she, the applicant, has to certify. In fact, I just spoke to the county manager about this today, that we, in the past, have never required sort of any real documentation. They just have to testify to it. So.
But actually, in the past, we have required people to come in with a
Well,
list of
when I
the
say we, I'm
residents.
sorry, just since the community development took it over earlier this year. So we will, after this application, now require them to fill out who the neighbors are and certify that they have notified them, because that's all the requirement is that they're notified. Applicant certifies that all adjacent property owners have been notified prior to the event. It does not require.
And what if all of them said no to her, that we don't want you to do this? Just because you notified them doesn't mean that it's a good thing or they're gonna be okay with it. So there needs to be something else more specific that is in that requirement, other than I certify that I told Gwen I was having a party, because Gwen might say, oh no, I got a baby in the house, I don't need y'all doing that all night. So,
Certainly, and obviously the board would have the opportunity to make those requirements, but currently, the application does not require that anybody has to agree with it, just that they've been notified.
And I listened to somebody who was a little displeased with that one time, and they said, I'm mad at that person and I'm not gonna approve.
well, I mean, it
Hey,
is
that's
what
just-
it is, you gotta be nice to your neighbors. But, yeah, I'm just simply saying, I don't feel comfortable just because you can go and write down where everybody lives, just look at the property owner and say, I certify. We don't go back and check it.
Absolutely, yes, ma'am.
So if we did have them here and said to them, okay, this is a list of people, and here's Miss
Signature.
Reddick's signature saying, I'm okay with it, yes or no. You know, something to measure that statement is correct.
And to that end, I mean, I could fake a signature too. So maybe the point is that you don't want to consider letting people be loud after 9 o'clock for any reason, and that's what you get to decide as a board. That's why it's required for your permission past 9 o'clock, because I don't know how we would get them to prove it in any real way.
Well, no, but I mean, like I said, I'm thinking back to when we actually had this, that generally they would come in with a paper
List.
with those people having signed that they talked to them, and basically it would be yes or no.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
okay.
yeah, and I think we should at the very least include something like that.
Could we put up like a sign, just like zoning, to put up a sign and do some kind of notification in the paper or something, and?
Well, I mean, we don't do that now, but you could write an ordinance that requires it.
Okay, so everybody think through that, we're not gonna solve that tonight with that. So think through that, all right.
But we have the latitude to change those hours. We have the latitude
Oh,
to
yeah,
say
yeah.
Yes,
that,
ma'am.
no, we don't want to give it to you from 5 to 10 to 11. We want to give it to you from 6 to 10 or
Absolutely, yes,
or
ma'am.
whatever.
We've done that before. We've done that before. All right, we have a motion, right? Okay.
Yeah, I was asking for it. Go ahead.
All right,
No, there's no-
any more discussion? All those in favor of approving, please raise your hand. 5-0. Looks like, Town manager, we need to think through that again.
Got it?
All right. Item number 3, consider of compensation for the Board of Equalization. If you remember the, come on up.
Thank you, Commissioners, for giving us the opportunity to present some needs of the Board of Equalization. My name is Jim Castellaw. I reside at 1010 Amelia Road, Locust Grove, Georgia, 30248. I've been a property owner and a resident of Spalding County for 29 years. I've served on the Board of Equalization for the last 11 years, and for the past 3 years, I've served as chairman. As a follow-up to my memorandum, I think I sent the memorandum to each one of the commissioners. My memorandum to Debbie Brooks, clerk of the court, with copies to the commissioners. I want to emphasize the difficulty we've faced during the past 2023 tax year. The tax assessor's office has received over 2,000, actually I got some current figures, 2,170 appeals for property assessments this year, and a great majority of those appeals have been heard by the Board of Equalization. There were actually 1,905 appeals were scheduled, hearings were scheduled. We currently have 3 regular members and 3 alternates serving on the Board of Equalization, but 2 of the 3 alternates have not been available for the majority of the year. One was sick and the other one's just not available. This places a substantial burden on the active and regular alternate members, especially based on the number of hearings that have been scheduled. If we are unable to schedule 3 members to the hearing process is delayed and a backup occurs, as has happened many times this year. As a matter of fact, we've had to cancel 6 different days this year because of unavailability of members. That affected 122 property owners' appeals. If the hearings are scheduled and one or more members is unable to participate due to illness or emergencies, the hearings must reschedule, and 20 to 22 property owners' appeals are delayed. We usually hear between 20 and 22 appeals at each one of the day's hearings. If property assessments are increased again this year, and it sounds like they were based on the tax assessor's report, we're probably in for another rash of appeals, and we're not prepared based on the number of active Board of Equalization members that we have. As I've indicated to Ms. Brooks on previous occasions, I believe one of the reasons for lack of participation in the BOE process by Spalding County is the extremely low daily compensation. In July of 2018, the daily rate was increased from $50 to the current $60 per day. For several years, the rate remained at $25 per day and was increased to $50 per day in the year 2000. The Board of Equalization has a huge responsibility in making decisions based on appeals by property owners, and I believe the rate of compensation should be increased to a level that would provide more incentive for participation by county citizens. Right now, 3 of the 4 active members are residents of Sun City. I'm the only one that's not a resident. We need to get more participation from the other citizens of the county. The rate of compensation in 2018 for some surrounding counties was $110 to $150 a day. That's 6 years ago. While other smaller counties pay less than Spalding, some maybe $35 to $40 a day. I understand the rate of pay for members of the Board of Assessors is $150 per meeting, and my understanding again is that the meetings only last for 2 or 3 hours, whereas the Board of Equalization meetings last from 10 o'clock in the morning till sometimes 4:30 and 5 o'clock in the evening. I would like to recommend an increase compensation to $100 a day in hopes of attracting more interest and incentives to potential new members of the Board of Equalization. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Would that include the week-long training?
I'm sorry?
Would that include the week-long training that happens in July?
I didn't understand what
Would
you
that
said.
include the week-long training? I think I'm the only one up here that was ever on the Board of Equalization at any point.
I've never been on it.
Yeah,
There's a, when you're first selected by, or actually appointed by the grand jury, you're required to do a 40-hour training session.
yeah, it's a whole weekend.
So I'm not sure how that would, I mean, normally I think the individual is paid for the training in addition to a compensation for the actual education as well. So I'm assuming that would include both.
Okay.
I can't imagine with all of the appeals and stuff that we have, that the same three people want to keep listening at folks hollering at them all the time. I wouldn't volunteer to come for it either. And, I mean, the compensation would help, but geez, since 2000?
Now,
What is this gonna mean in dollar amounts if we actually make this change? How much?
It appears that it would be approximately $10,000.
Now, my issue with it has to do with others. We have a lot of other committees, whatever words you want to use, that we have people who are volunteers and don't get any money at all. If
But
we
the Board
do
of,
it for
Board of
one,
Equalization is already compensated, right?
do we do it, are we going to do anything for anybody else?
Well, I mean, this is not something we're creating. They were getting paid money because they're doing the hard thing.
Yeah, all the other boards are voluntary boards. This one's not a.
Well, actually, in effect, this is a volunteer program, but you volunteer to serve on the program, but then you have to be actually notarized, appointed by the grand jury. So it's a volunteer program, but the compensation is,
But you are compensated right now.
yes, sir, $60 a day.
$60
$60
a day.
I don't think we compensate any other boards, do we?
No.
I mean, airport, I think we get a jacket when we cycle out. That's about it.
I'm just making sure everybody understands. If we say yes to this one, what about other boards saying something to us?
And I'm asking you, a lot of times in the legislation that creates these boards, there is something about compensation that is either decided by the board or
Sometimes it's set,
statutory.
but the Board of Equalization is actually a creature of statute, and the state of Georgia doesn't set a cap on what you as a county can pay them. Now, the legislation, for example, for the Board of Elections, it's $100 a meeting for everybody, and the chairman, I think, gets $150. So and the Board of Assessors is paid. They're just, some are purely voluntary, and then others are not.
Well, like at Three Rivers, they pay you for transportation to go out of town, and that is
The Water
established by-
Authority legislation says specifically no payment. So it's different for different authorities
Yeah.
and boards.
Yeah, and like the leisure,
So I don't-
leisure services is a bunch of people that are involved in the various leisure service, the senior center and, the football and this, what I'm saying? Like, it's people that are kind of stakeholders in leisure, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean,
for the most part, same thing with the development.
I'm curious to know how ACCG would fit into this. And would this be one we would take to them and kind of get some guidance from them to see
That's not a bad idea.
what parameters there are in place?
it's like people that work at the polls for the Board of Elections.
Yeah.
They're volunteering, but they still get a per diem
They're
because they're
paid,
leaving their
correct.
job to be there. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if your job is watching TV at home, you got to leave to go and listen to somebody fuss at you about their taxes.
Absolutely.
That's why.
Oh,
I didn't sign up to speak, but I just wanted to ask if I may speak.
Yeah,
You
she's
have
the
to
one
come
that
up to-
makes the appointments, Tim.
Come up.
I
Give
know
your-
a lot of the boards.
come up and give your
say
name and
volunteer
address, please.
Or leisure services, but
She's the
where
clerk of
this
Superior
comes
Court.
into effect is this determines the amount, and it can hold up and be held up as the amount that the person is appealing, and it can affect the taxes a lot. So, yes, I understand a lot of the leisure
Say that again?
services that are volunteer, but if this is stuck and we don't have these hearings, then it comes back on me because I don't have the board members there or the hearings to have it. It can affect the amount of the tax rate at a reduced rate.
so the Board of Assessors don't really have anything to work with if they don't go through this.
They have to,
BOE.
you have to have this process, before the tax rate is set, before the individual property owner's tax rate is set. It's their right and their law, and the law, that they have to have this set. It's not something that is, so it is very important that I do keep a working board and members because it affects the county as a whole.
I would just be
If I don't have a board, if we don't have board members to hear it, then their tax rate is set at the amount that they appealed or at a reduced amount until they have their hearing. We've had that problem in past years?
Um,
I don't know, I'm just speaking because I wasn't expecting that to come up, but I did want to make you, aware of that.
Can we look at surrounding counties, see what everybody else is paying? I mean, I don't think this is an absurd idea. I think it's, we need to keep up. But if everybody else,
Okay, we'll
everybody
table
else is at
this.
zero and.
We may find out
jump
that we're still up.
More on
Maybe.
the,
Yeah,
on the amount.
He
per
he
appeal,
told
but-
us, didn't he? He said counties that are surrounding us are paying less than 50, some 45, and other counties around us are up to as high as 150.
That was 6 years ago.
So-
I'm sure that's changed substantially over the last 6 years.
The only thing I have to say is that there are boards where people just volunteer to be on them, and it's a service. But some board or somebody decided that this was one of those boards that would get some sort of reimbursement, just like people going to court and sitting for jury duty. So, I mean, if we want to go back and look for wherever that is, it's just a holdup. But, we had to fight to get our own people a pay raise. And we know that it's more of an inconvenience. It's certainly not tempting for you to come for this same money that people have been getting for 13 years, to volunteer to do this. And this is not like sitting on the Development Authority. You don't have anybody up in your face. It's not like being on the Elections Board. Well, poll workers do kind of get people up in their face. But,
Mr. Castellaw can attest, and I've been to several of these, they do have people up in their face
well,
when they're
that's what I'm
talking about
saying.
property tax
And we're asking
appeals,
them to
yeah.
volunteer to have somebody to go at them, and I just don't think that it's ridiculous. If the range is 150 to 35 to 150, and they're at 60,
Just like we did a pay study, I think we don't need to pull figures out, because it could be the fact that you need more than what you're asking for. So in the sense of actually being accurate, let's do a little homework to find what is, you're saying the figures you gave us was 6 years ago? I mean, we don't know what that looks like.
Yeah, it
Let's
might
pay what
actually be
should
higher
be
than
fair.
100,
If we're gonna do it, let's make sure we do it fairly and correctly.
I actually tried to contact a couple of counties before I came to the hearing, and they're very reluctant to give out information. Very reluctant.
I'll reach across to the county managers across the state and find out.
All right. Do I have motion to table?
motion to table.
I have motion and second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 5-0. Thank you for bringing it up to our attention. It's
Thank
an
you.
issue we have to do something about.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Item number 4, consider approval of the Regional Airport Authority appointments. We have 2 that are mandatory, just
That's
straight
correct.
across. And we have 1 that is county manager or his designee.
Yeah, Steve?
Make a motion for Steve and the other 2.
Yeah,
right.
a
I have a
motion
mo-
for
I have a
Steve
motion.
and the 2 that are mandatory, they won't.
Those 2 are Steve Wages for a term to expire December 31, 2024, and Dennis Knoll for a term to expire December 31, 2026.
All right, I have a motion.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
When does the current airport board go away? When the new flag goes up?
When the new flag goes up is the anticipated
So-
time that will occur, yes.
So this board takes over when the flag goes up. We're creating it, but it doesn't meet or do anything until that flag goes up, or there's 2 concurrent boards
It will meet, and
just to prepare it?
the hope is that it will, the hope and belief is that it will turn over executive authority to the current board, because we currently, the current Griffin Spalding Airport Authority has the sponsorship agreements, the MOUs with the state of Georgia, with the FAA. So that's between Spalding County, the city of Griffin, and the airport authority. The current authority owns all the property, so it would not make sense at this juncture, especially based on the conversation that we had with FAA today, who indicated that the changes in those agreements can take a long time. It wouldn't be prudent to stop everything in order for this board to take over those agreements.
So technically, there will be 2 concurrent boards, but we're slowly switching over to the new board, right? That's the idea, is
Um,
slowly get the MOUs under the new board.
When
When the other airport
when
is
the other
ready to
airport
open.
is ready to open, correct, would be
29th,
when the
all right.
regional authority.
Any more discussion?
I do have a question.
Yes.
Stephanie, you attend their meetings, right?
Yes, ma'am.
How many people of color are on the airport board?
None currently. Dr. Jones was on that board, and she resigned and was replaced by someone else.
Okay.
I believe Mr. Wages actually replaced her. He's filling an unexpired term.
Okay, when we get ready to do in January, we need to think through that. All right, any more discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. 5-0, motion carries. County manager. This is the first reading, so I think the county manager will will mention this, but this is the first reading of our FY '25 budget. The second reading will be on Thursday, and that will be the final reading to be able to approve. We have to have it approved by 30 June so that when the new fiscal year starts, 1 July, we're ready to go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do want to answer a couple of questions that have been posed this evening, either out loud or as Ms. Flowers-Taylor started the question but didn't answer it. I went back and reviewed our last meeting, and I do appreciate the comment that you made during our last meeting about how we have funding in our operating account to make sure that we don't dip below the zero line in our checking account for paying bills. And that's exactly what we've done. So for the last 6 months, we've been reporting that we have had $17.8 million in our fund balance. We've been very consistent with that. 5 of those million were sitting in our operating account to make sure that we didn't dip below the line. We moved that money over to our fund balance to make sure that we were extremely transparent with our the amount of money that we have. We did that because if we do need to move money back into our operating account based on the numbers dipping below the zero line, we will come back to you and ask you, be very transparent with those funds as we move forward. There was discussion about utilizing the 91 unfunded positions for the raises. We did have that discussion. But if we have that discussion for using that $3 million for taking and satisfying the raises, where does that money come from next year? So we need to make sure that we are funding our budget appropriately to ensure those 91 positions are adequately funded, as we discussed during our last meeting. I'm happy to report, as of this morning, during our staff meeting, the warden indicated that he was within 2 positions of being 100% staffed. That's great news, and it's kudos to this board for the work that you've done to move us into a position where our pay is now meeting the target goal of bringing people in. With that, I do want to share a couple of things with you. In fiscal year '24, we had a fully funded budget. This includes water, 911, the fire fund. All of our funds accounted for $121 million. Well, we were satisfying the requirements of 68,919 residents. We had 5 key components that we were focused on last year. People focused, that was our number 1. Taking care of our roads with respect to our T-Splosh. I'm happy to report that we are knocking it out of the park for our T-Splosh and resurfacing projects.
Agreed.
We were tasked with making sure that our comprehensive plan and our future land use map was squared away. We were working on our dashboards. That's going to be a continuation into this year. And we were working to satisfy bringing a new park on board, which was our aquatic center. If we look at this year, our fiscal year '25, we, as according to U.S. Census Bureau, are working to satisfy the requirements of 69,946 people. That's a 3.7% 3.76% increase since our last census of 2020. We do have 5 areas that we are looking to accomplish this year with your approval. The ordinance review, the ordinance rewrite. As we've discussed over the last hour or so, we have identified 2 of our ordinances that are in dire need of upgrade, and we've talked a lot about that over the last few years. We're also looking to satisfy the requirement for our web redesign. The work is continuing. We should complete that by September. We're bringing on a new ERP, a new finance package. That will take us until February or March of next year to complete that upgrade. We're going to continue with the dashboard development, and the ERP is a big part of that. And then the last piece that we're looking to accomplish is to develop a strategic plan for all of the assets, all of the properties that we own inside of the county. There's a lot of property that we own. We need to do a complete inventory of that property and then make a strategic plan for how we are going to satisfy the M&O and the redevelopment of those properties as we move forward. One of the things I do want to highlight here in the discussion that we're going to have over the next few minutes is our general fund at $71,168,552. If we look at the proposed budget, you will notice inside of this proposed budget that we do have the aquatic center listed. It is halfway down on the left-hand side at $1.086 million. We also have the solid waste listed as well, so the recycle centers are funded for this year. And we do have a balanced budget of $71,168,552 as we keep the same millage rate at 15.588. Some of the differences between this year and last year, you will notice at the bottom the aquatic center was $1 million difference between last year and this year. Some of the other areas that we have highlighted here, our workers' comp went up 46.6%. Gasoline went up 26.4%. Electricity 16.7%. Vehicle insurance 16%. General liability 16%. Sewer 14.9%. We've seen some significant increases in our budget. That said, the request from staff anticipated revenues at 15.588 millage rate, if we maintain the same, would provide an estimated $3.77 million in increased revenue. The 91 positions that were unfilled account for approximately $3.8 million. And one of the things that we are requesting to utilize that $3.8 million to accomplish are supplemental budget requests. Remember, our budget was, you had tasked me with putting together a budget for doing nothing but satisfying the bare minimum requirements to run our community. The supplemental budgets provide us with some additional funding to increase those services, and I'll give you some examples. So for the clerk of court, our clerk of court is here this evening. She has asked for 4 additional clerks to satisfy the requirements of our growing community. It also provides us with an organizational change to afford us the opportunity to bring deputy county managers on for support. It provides for boiler replacement in the public defender's office. Public Works provides a dump truck. On the far right-hand side, there are 2 purchases for roll-off trucks at $280,000 each. The trucks that we currently have in use today have far exceeded their expected life use, and they are literally stopping in the middle of the roads, and we're having to tow those back to the shop to get them running. They are just worn out. But this supplemental budget accounts for $2.983 million, which will be satisfied by the 3.8 from those 91 positions that were not filled this year. We anticipate those 91 positions will be filled this year, and that's why we are budgeting the $71 million to satisfy those requirements. So Should the Board of Commissioners agree to the rollback, not the rollback, but to roll the 24 monies forward, the fiscal year 24 monies from the 91 non-filled positions are 3.8 minus the supplemental request of 2.983351 affords staff to move approximately $833,759 into our fund balance account. Our fund balance account would then increase to $18,633,759, or a total of 96 days of operating funds inside of the fund balance. I would entertain any questions that you have concerning our budget.
I'd like to make a comment. I just wanted to really thank you and the staff for working so hard at this. I know as I'm looking at that supplemental request there, that number has gone down drastically.
Yes, ma'am.
So I know you put the pen to the paper there as far as cutting some of those things out. So that's going to be a big difference in what it started off being a couple of months ago.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good.
Paula, okay.
Well, I was gonna say, a lot of these things, we might want to hold off on approving some of those supplements and wait until it's time to buy that thing, or, we get bids for the elevators or whatever, and not just approve them in sort of the omnibus, but approve sort of the budget and then approve those as we go. Does that make sense? I mean, some of those we might approve
It does
upfront,
make
but-
sense from the perspective of how we spend money, but we have been extraordinarily consistent on not spending money until it is absolutely necessary. That's why we have some funding left over from last year. We are watching the money so tight and so closely that we treat it like it's our own, because it is. I'm a taxpayer here just like the rest of our community, and I want to make sure that we're spending it only on those items that we absolutely need. We are time phasing these items in. Some of the purchases of vehicles will take 4 to 5 months once we order them before they actually arrive for use.
But we would have to approve the expenditures.
That's
before
correct.
we
You would
vote
have
on
to
it.
approve that.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may, where in the budget do we see the supplemental added?
We do not. We have not included that in the budget until you as the commissioners.
Till we vote to roll it into next year's budget?
That is correct.
So let me just get a real understanding of what you said before. That what we've been doing in the past, instead of getting a loan when our tax money runs out in the fall, between the time it runs out and the time we recollect it, we have been setting aside $5 million in the operating budget to pay our bills.
So we did not have to take the loan. That is absolutely correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then I don't have a problem with that money being moved to the fund balance, but if it's needed for what we've used it for every year, then I would feel more comfortable as that being a designated amount of money.
We will come back to you and tell you exactly how much we will need to move from fund balance into our operating account, and we will be extraordinarily transparent with our community to show where that money's moving from and into, and then when we pay that money back to our fund balance.
I don't think you understood what I was saying. I'm saying if we have needed for, I don't know how many years, I think it may have been 10 or 12 years since we got a tax anticipation note.
Yes, ma'am.
But so that, for me, that means that $5 million has always been put into the budget to make sure that we're paying the bills, because I know we haven't gotten a loan. I just feel like if that has been a standard for us, I would feel much more comfortable knowing that that money was put into the fund balance as a designated amount of money to pay our bills.
Yes, ma'am.
If we don't use it, fine, it can go back. But I think if we know we have that amount of debt between August and January, or whenever it is the first tax bills go out, makes it look good if we put it in the fund balance, but really we need to pay our bills with it.
We will pay our bills first without taking a tax anticipation loan. We will come back to you and ask for permission to move a set amount of money from our fund balance back into our operating account to pay our bills between the August and January timeline, when we run very low on cash. And then in January, we will move that money back into our fund balance. We are getting a much better rate of return inside of that investment account than we do sitting in our operating account. So we want to get a little extra
So
money.
that's the $5 million
That is the
that got,
$5 million. That is correct, yes, ma'am.
that is being used as investment money?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now, here's my kind of, two policy issues. One, keep it at 15,588, the budget.
The
County
millage
manager
rate.
did that for the budget. The second one was get to 90 days in the fund balance, and he did that. So those two issues are there. For everybody's knowledge, those two big books is the budget. That's our budget right there. You may see us walking around with the commissioners. They have summarized them down into a smaller book than that for us. There's two parts as far as I'm concerned in this budget year. The county manager has said, this is the bare minimum I can make it through. That's the budget. We're going to approve the budget tonight. He has also said to us, this is supplemental stuff that's gonna come up that we're gonna have to pay along the way if you all so desire. We scrubbed this hard. It went from bigger numbers down to smaller numbers, and those, my anticipation is, we'll put those on and pay those at a later date, pay as you go, and approve those as we move along. So, all right. We all square with that?
I just want to make a comment. I think you did a really good job on the budget. As I shared with you, I have a concern with money being anywhere that the general public can't see.
Yes, ma'am.
And hopefully, at some point, we will not forget that that money is supposed to be paying bills. But I just wanted to share, as I look through this budget, and you talked about the supplemental budget, our regular budget for solid waste is $1.32 million.
Yes, ma'am.
My understanding from Director Emberger is that we will not be able to run solid waste unless we spend $560,000 to buy 2 new trucks.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not real sure how we ended up at this place, because initially, the SPLOST was for a recycling center. Recycling to me means that you get stuff that you can give back to someone and they can use it again. And that is not what we're operating.
No.
We are operating a solid waste, whatever. So I understand when people say, I don't want to have roadside pickup and all of that. But when you accept this, that means you accept the other $500,000, because it cannot work unless we spend that. How much have we ever made back from solid waste? So I'm not forever taking a SPLOST project and not doing what it is that was supposed to happen with it. But that SPLOST project has morphed into something that I'm sure that whoever voted for it did not intend. I am amazed that some of us have sat here on this board and talked about how much we need to make money off the aquatic center. Now, I would love for all recreation to pay for itself. But we don't seem to have a care about the fact that it cost us $1.3 million annually to run a recycling center that is really a trash service. I don't understand it. Any place in the world, you have to pay for trash disposal because it costs to build landfills and get trucks to take them out there. And I guess I'm just very disappointed that the things that we try to make examples for, that we think are okay, I've never used the recycling drop-off center, but you don't hear me crying about it. I'll help pay for it just like everybody else. So I would just, as I said earlier, I find it very difficult and disappointing that we can choose to give grace to some things and not to others. No one has sat down and did a door-to-door study, but I have ridden in my district and in Commissioner Johnson's district, and over half of the people that I see in those districts have trash cans from some company that their trash is being picked up on the roadway. So not only are those taxpayers paying twice for a service, because clearly they're not taking their trash out there, but they're supplementing others who choose not to have that service. I just hope at some point that we really start looking at what our mission is. Because if you ask any government that does trash, they charge for it. That's just how it is. The other thing about the budget is that I wanted to make sure that the money, I did not see in the elections budget, and maybe that's in the supplemental, about the items and the repair that needs to happen to the elections office in order for them to be in compliance with what the state is telling Ms. Slaughter that she has to do. Is that the supplemental right there?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that on there?
It's not.
I feel like,
I thought that it was, yeah, it is. It's 6 from the bottom, Board of Elections.
Yeah, big
Oh, it is.
building renovation, 150.
And I
on the
did-
left side?
Yes,
It's on
ma'am.
the left.
I did have a conversation with Lance about the cost, and we're working a much bigger opportunity in the background for that one, and I'll be more than happy to share as soon as we finalize that deal.
So my concern is that initially there was a $400,000
Yes, ma'am.
line item for there, and no one had done any engineering work, no one had done, and I love Lance, but the reason that we're in the shape with the 2016 SPLOST is because we didn't get someone with technical expertise to tell us how much something was
Yes,
gonna
ma'am.
cost.
We're working that right now with engineering.
So I'm a little leery of that number being a really good number. I thought that $400,000 may not have been it because I didn't know if they were moving. And I hoped that we would have some information, but I really am not comfortable with that number because we don't really have someone telling us exactly how that is.
You share my concern.
There's a lot of stuff like that that's like, I don't know if these supplements are quite ready for us to sort of approve wholesale. Can we approve the budget tonight and then have you come back and be like, hey, these things are ready to be approved right now, and then as we go forward with the
Yes.
year, we can
Yes.
pull.
We can, and
You follow me?
I would ask that you approve at least $25,000 for the Board of Elections so that we can continue the discussions with the engineer.
Yeah,
That's within
yeah,
your
yeah.
realm. isn't
It is, that's
Yeah.
within my realm.
Yeah,
But I
we're
just,
trying to work
I need-
something with another organization, and we just need to keep it down till,
Yeah.
we understand the problem, we're trying to work it, and we think we have a solution. Okay?
I hear what you're saying, whatever your side conversations have been about this, but we have the budget right here, and the public is looking at the budget right here. And I would much rather there be a number that could potentially be real, than to have to come back later and say, well, we only really thought that we'd need $150,000 for renovations, and that's not enough.
Well, that's why I'm saying we don't approve these supplements
We're
right now.
not approving
We
this.
let them come back.
But he wants to add 25,000.
I
in
need
to do the
25,000 for the
Okay.
continuation of the engineering service.
And that's within his realm.
So,
It is within his range.
Yeah.
so let's vote to approve the budget without the supplements, plus $25,000 for,
He has the authority to do that.
We can't approve the budget without approving the supplement. If you don't want
Yeah,
to
we totally
improve the details, but the number has to be in the budget. It is part of the budget. Am I not making
Erica, can
sense?
we do this?
You do need the budget numbers, because if you're going to roll this money forward, If you don't roll the money forward, it's going to be a challenge for us because we'll have to put that into fund balance with the accounting firm when we do our accounting, or our audit rather. And then we'll have to come back and ask for those monies to be removed out of fund balance and placed as a budget amendment into the fiscal year 25 budget.
So
We park it there for now and then.
And I know this is just the first reading of the budget, but I would definitely want this 2.983 to be included in the entirety of the budget, because looking at it on the outside, everybody can see that as the entire number. And I had shared this with you, the positions for deputy administrator or county manager, I don't think that that's a supplemental item. That's something that we said we have to have.
We agree. Are we spending the money on 1 July?
Yes.
No, I don't think we're spending this supplement money on 1 July.
No, that's what the issue is.
No, the question for me is that why is the amount of money that we need, that we have all said that we want to have available for the deputy manager or the assistant county manager position in a supplement? This is not a pay-as-you-go. This is something that we said as a board that we need to have happen. So why are we not putting that in the general
Because
fund?
we actually had a couple of positions that we're actually pulling out too, right? We said that there's a grant writer, there's an engineer.
But those are in, the grant writer and the engineer and the contractor are already in the general fund.
That's correct. That's why it went from 70 to 71, because during the last discussion, we were instructed to move those 3 positions in, and that's exactly what we did.
So my discomfort, Clay, is just in the fact that those job positions, which I feel is essential, because it's about our succession plan.
Yep.
And God knows, nobody knows what can happen from one day to the next, but we need to get on that immediately. And if we got to come back in and discuss the supplemental budget, it's not as important as we said it was.
We're going to make amendment. The question that the county manager asked, if he backs up, is he's asking us to make an amendment now on the supplements. My answer is we're not amending that budget yet. We're going to approve the budget, and the amendment we'll do later.
Yeah, and if you can come back to us with, these are the stuff that we need, July 1, like the organizational change, right? That's something that we need to be ready for. So maybe even at the second reading, we go, okay, here's the 10 things that we're pulling out that we got to do right now. Okay, but just like, Gwen, just like you said, this 150,000, that's sort of a thumbnail sketch of maybe it's 150. I mean, hopefully that's right, but we don't know that that's right. So there's no reason to approve 150 if it's really going to be 400. Let's wait on that. So then we pull the rest of the stuff that isn't July 1 specific out, and then say, hey, then we'll put that balance into the fund balance, and then when it comes to, okay, we need the crew cab for recreation or whatever. Okay, we're ready for that. Let's pull these things out in little, tranches or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
I totally understand what you're saying, and obviously y'all don't understand what I'm saying. Is that $2,983,000 needs to be added into the total amount.
Yeah.
You cannot not approve that amount in the entire budget. Now, what you're gonna spend it on, you may call it supplemental, but it needs to be included in the entirety of the budget.
yeah, I think.
Where's Erica? Somebody help me out here, because they acting like I'm speaking Greek.
You're right. We roll it, I think me and Clay actually said it, we just said it softly.
Erica's right. Erica said Gwen's right.
We would roll it into fund balance for now, and then pull it out of there in tranches when it's ready to be spent. Right now, it's not ready to be
But I
spent.
guess she's saying we have to, but according to Erica, we have to approve
That's
it.
how we would count it.
So
We go,
in
just add
order
it the
to,
budget.
in order to pass the budget tonight, we need to also make the motion to
I see
roll
what you're
this
saying.
money over into,
Fund balance for now.
is it general fund or fund balance?
It's fund balance.
Fund
If you're not
Okay,
gonna
roll
put it in
that money
general
into
it would
fund
go into
balance.
balance.
Okay, because that way it will be in next year's money. As I said, I want us to have a county manager. I really wish you'd been applying for, having applications out. I know you try to go by the rules and you don't want to do anything until you got money, but that is not a supplement for me. That is an absolute
I agree.
necessary.
Let's pull that one now too.
I mean, it needs to be out so that there is no question about it later. The money is there. Start looking for somebody tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am.
See, what happens, so everybody gets it, we put it in the budget, and what happens to it in July? What happens in February, in August? What happens in September? It sits there.
It sits there.
This is how we got the 91
Right.
blank money
Yeah,
to be able to do it. See, that's what the issue is with me. And we keep rolling this money in there, and there's nobody taking it out. And it
Oh.
just sits.
You got 50 things here to take
Yeah,
it
there's a
out
list of
for.
things that you-
Right.
And we want to do, I want to set it up where, as we've got tough times coming, could have tough times coming at the $5 million we usually talk about. And I want these things to be pay-as-you-go. We're going to pull them up. Now, it may be that in 6 months, one of these or two of these things are not high enough priorities for us anymore. You know, so we're going to say, yep, it was high enough priority in June, but in January, it's not high enough priority. And some of it is time phased. We start paying money off, and we do it.
And
it's
a lot of these are under the 25,000 amount that, I mean, like, you know, the ductless system for
All right.
E911.
All right,
Just
we all
go into
square,
that.
we understand?
square?
All right, do
Okay,
I have a
you-
motion
so
to approve the budget?
Just a point.
Wait, he's
though.
not finished, are you?
Oh,
Just a
sorry.
point, yes, it is under my authorization for spend, but if we don't have the money in the budget, I
In the
can't
budget.
spend it.
I'm with you, I'm with you. I'm following, I'm tracking on that.
All right,
Okay, so what about this? We approved the budget as presented, plus this supplemental amount to go into fund balance for now, minus 25,000 towards the elections office upgrade
engineering.
redo, and then the 96,000 towards the organizational change.
I'm good
We
for
go ahead
that.
and put that into the budget now. All the supplements, we're gonna roll that money into fund balance, and then as you go, hey, this is ready, hey, this is ready, we pull that out of fund balance and go for it.
Y'all have,
all right.
they don't
Is that
pay us
your
enough
motion?
money for this.
Okay, all right.
That's your
That's my
motion?
motion.
Okay, I
Had to
heard the
test it
motion.
first.
Do I have a second?
Could somebody repeat it?
Okay, so we're approving the budget plus the 2.9 million, this amount from the departmental supplemental budget. That 2.983351 to go into fund balance, less the 96,000 for the executive organizational change and 25,000 for the elections office redo project beginning there. Those two things are actually budgeted items. The rest of these aren't budget items. We roll. we
Come out
take-
of the fund balance
balance.
as he brings them to us.
I'll second it.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. First reading is done. Thank you. All right. I would like at this time to create an ad hoc committee chaired by Commissioner Johnson
Yes.
on the strategic plan for around the Griffin Airport.
I'll do it.
All right, thank you.
What does that mean?
She's just going to pull stakeholders together to start looking for, what are we going to do with the land around, in concentric circles around the
And it won't be
airport.
just me doing it, I'll be the one to kind of help facilitate.
Because part of the land in the concentric circle is the city of Griffin.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes,
sure.
ma'am.
Okay.
And
I
I've
can
had a
find stakeholders.
conversation with
She shouldn't have any
Ms.
authority. She's
O'Connor
just an
about
ad hoc.
You wanna give us
participation.
Okay,
You're in charge now. That's the- Everyone knows to blame too. That's the the good and bad of the job.
all right, can I have a motion to approve Commissioner Johnson as being the ad hoc chairman
Yeah,
of
so
that
moved.
group? I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second, any more discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. You
Look for
wrote,
myself,
yes,
yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you
Thank you.
for volunteering to do that, this is a big deal.
I'm excited about it.
Item number 7, consider approval of city park landscape bid. Dr. Ledbetter?
So we, TJ and his team put together an RFP, and Naturescapes returned a bid for $32,472 to do the landscaping and turf maintenance for City Park. And our recommendation, staff's recommendation, is to award Naturescapes this contract.
Is that for the year, like starting July 1st till
Correct.
sold?
That's a
Motion
whole
to
lot.
approve.
I have a question.
Yes.
How many bids came in?
Two. You're there on the screen.
No, there,
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
no, there were a number, I believe there were 6 bids. I don't have, Erica, do you remember what the number was? I believe there were 6 bids, and they ranged from 130,000 down to 32.
And this is just for y'all, grass cutting, limb trimming, hedge?
It's just turf and grass maintenance, yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
It's
it's all the green
cutting the
stuff.
limbs and mowing the grass, that's it. They're not cleaning up the restrooms or
Yep.
doing maintenance on any of the tennis courts or,
And that's going to be done by Parks?
Still- yeah.
that will be
Parks.
continued
Taking
by.
care of the facility.
Correct.
Okay,
This is what we asked
fantastic.
him to do last year, and then he decided to loop in the bathrooms at the same time, and came up with like a $278,000
It's
bid.
expensive to do
And we went,
daily
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
work on the bathrooms.
Well, we're just talking about cutting grass here.
That's where we're down, from that number down to 32.
Yeah.
Okay.
Frankly,
All right.
I think this is kind of the future. We could get several of these companies, and whoever's doing it the best.
And we know their
we
work,
could-
by the way, right?
We do know
Yes.
their work.
Okay.
They actually take care of Sun City Peachtree.
Okay.
Yes,
Oh, well, there you go.
and they do a very good
They do a
job.
good job.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
Yeah, I've already given a motion.
All right, I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second, any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 5-0, motion carries. All right, item number 10, county manager's update.
Mr. Chair, it was a great opportunity this afternoon to visit with GDOT and the FAA. The city was participating, the airport authority was participating. Greg Teague and Michael with Croy were participating. And one of the takeaways that I had from the discussion that was made by Ms. Collette at GDOT was this is a historic day. We are finally moving forward with the construction phase of the new airport. Was very taken aback by the discussion, but very pleased by the discussion. And I think the representation by the city, by the county, by the airport authority spoke volumes to both GDOT and the FAA. Also happy to report that we're moving forward with our T-Splost projects. If you've seen any of the work that's going on right now across the county with respect to the 27 miles of roadway that's being resurfaced, I'm very pleased with the work that C.W. Matthews is performing. They seem to be doing a great job. They're giving time for those roads to cure before they put the thermoplasty down for striping, so give them about 45 more days for the striping work to take place. Also happy to report that the 3 roads that were a part of our chip and seal project for this year have completed, and we're getting some good reviews back from those 3 roads. That's it. That's all my update this evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
What 3 roads were they?
Henley, oh goodness, you had to ask. My mind just went blank.
Don't give them back.
I want to go right on
Manly.
them, yeah.
Yeah.
And Cecil Jackson, that's correct. Cecil Jackson, Manley, and that other one.
I'll just go right on 2 of them.
That'll work.
Yes. Well, hopefully, they are much better than we've seen before. Commissioner Johnson?
Okay, real quick, we've been here long enough. I wanted to thank Johnny McDaniel for being here and giving that presentation. Very important information. I hope we've kind of indulged in that and heard what he had to say about it. We appreciate him educating us on the assessment of the taxes. Thank you, Johnny, for that. Glad we got the first reading of the budget passed. I think we're on the right track here. I'm very happy about that, and I hope the citizens are happy as well. And the bigger issue we have now is this, our fiscal year 23 audit. I'm not sure exactly where we are in this and what this is really gonna happen regarding a suspension that we may be upon, but this is probably priority number 1, that we really need to kind of dig our heels in and do whatever we need to do to make sure, if we can, that we're not affected, citizens are not affected in any way. Lastly, I want to congratulate Reginald Watts, that's actually here right now, who was over the Juneteenth parade UOA. It was a fabulous event. The event afterwards was also fabulous, so thank you once again. You raised the bar on that one, so thank you. That's it.
Okay. Commissioner Dutton?
No one is closing the collection centers. In the budgets tonight, all the collection centers are staying open. No one's closing the collection centers. I can't stress this enough. Okay. We have
For
a fourth.
now.
For now.
Stop saying they're gonna. No one's closing the collection centers. It's not. It's not.
Not this year,
It's
anyway.
not happening. Okay. All right. If we find a way to magically teleport all trash to the sun, then maybe we'll close the collection center. Short of Star Trek becoming real life, we're not closing collection centers. 4th of July parade is coming up. We really need a big turnout. My wife, as most of y'all know, is originally from Peachtree City, and she always goes, our parade is bigger. And we need to have a bigger parade than them. We need our civic organizations to really turn out big. We got that big trophy for best civic organization that we need to get back into circulation. So we need y'all's organizations to show up. My wife lovingly keeps reminding me about this insurance reimbursement, the deduction. We raised the deduction to $4,000, and then we set aside money to reimburse people back down to the $1,000 level. And then when I went into HR the other day for my time, this is when you were gone, they were like, we don't know what you're talking about. So where are we with that? That's the thing that we certainly passed, and we all thought was live for the last several years.
Since
And-
we were self-funded.
Yeah, right. And this is my first time having to use it, and not that we want to use it, but if they didn't know how to help me use it, they're not helping any of our other employees use it. So every year we come and go, oh, we only use this much of it. Well, that might be why, because nobody knows how to use it. So I'd certainly like to get on top of that. So if we could follow up with that. That said, like it, hate it, once the SPLOST was passed, we had to make the best out of it, and I think we did. Our aquatic center is fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. It's in the soft open right now. My daughter got to swim in it. It's really great. 2 pools inside, open all the time. Please come out and swim. Again, it's sort of like any other SPLOST project. Once the majority of people votes for it, it is what it is. And there's no reason to not try to make the best out of it. So that's where we're at. I think we've done the best with what we've been dealt. I've already been looking in there and been like, oh, that is a great plot for a splash pad. We could cut a hole right there and put a slide out there. So y'all get ready for my crazy ideas, because they're coming. So we're gonna get there. Of course, the plans to not just have a splash pad there, but at Fairmont, at Carver Road. I know I've had some chats with some of our counterparts in the city for putting one in the land they still own there at City Park. And anyway, some good stuff coming. And that's all I got tonight.
Okay. Commissioner Flowers Taylor?
Yes. I want to say thank you to Jessica for sitting through that. I see the arrow sticking out the side of your head.
Yeah. Her meetings are 2 minutes long. That's
Thank you. I just wanted to talk a little bit about make a comment about the PTSD and proclamation that was presented by Kenyatta Walker. We were talking about them earlier when we were talking about the veterans issue, and McIntosh Trail does provide very good services here. They have been here, and they are definitely an organization that needs a place to be. I would love it if we would have the same zeal about trying to help them find a one-stop shop where they can do what it is that they're doing. Because I think that in doing that, we will reach a lot more clients and those clients' families than veterans. Now, I'm a veteran, I get it. When you catch me outside with nowhere to stay, I would like a shelter to stay in. But again, what is so important about mental health is that we, along with the rest of society, gloss it over with calling it mental health. And I appreciate her talking about PTSD because it gives a name to an illness. When people talk about heart problems, they don't say, I have health problems. They say, I got a heart problem. But nobody talks about, I have depression, I have anxiety, I have ADHD. And these are the things that not only affect us, but they affect our family and they affect the life of everybody around them. And it's one of my goals to make sure that we become a better educated community on recognizing mental health and calling it really what it is, so that people can understand the importance of having it treated. I was not here for the parade the other day, but when I did get home, it was so hot that when I took a deep breath, the hair in my nose caught on fire. When we have something, a parade, 4th of July, even this, it's always hot in June. It's always hot in July. Maybe we might consider having a nighttime parade. We do so good with that at Christmas, and we have so much participation that maybe we might consider that, because as an old person, I wasn't really trying to be standing outdoors in the heat more than like a second.
Christmas is the one parade that should be daytime. The rest
Well,
of them-
but I'm saying,
Yeah,
the
it's a good thought.
the
Let's
response,
try it.
I can sit on my porch at night if it's 80 degrees better than I can sit on my porch during the day at 80 degrees. So maybe we might consider that and be able to increase the participation of not only the bystanders, but the community in general.
Good
I
point.
wanted to, and I know maybe somebody's in here from my district, but I want to thank the people in my district for re-electing me. I'm honored to sit here to serve, and as all of you guys know, I serve the entire county. I feel like if you're a commissioner for someone, you should represent everyone. And I plan to be able to do that for the next 4 years that I'm going to be here. And I will continue to hold people to task, to explain to y'all what it is that we're saying up here. Because I think it's important. If it's important enough for you to sit out here, or important enough for you to turn on your phone or the internet to listen, we should speak in a language that you understand. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Vice Chairman?
I just got one thing, I totally forgot about it during the meeting. And I sent out an email a while back about it, but I wanted to ask the board. July 4th falls on a Thursday, and we got the Friday, and years past, we always had that Friday off. So it fell on a Tuesday or a Thursday, and I was gonna see, do we need to vote on it? Is that something we can just kind of give a nod, or?
I asked the county
have to have a
manager to
vote.
talk to other county managers to see what they're doing. What's the result?
Overwhelmingly, they're giving just one day. They're either working on the 4th and giving the 5th off, or they're allowing their employees to take the 4th off and coming back to work on the 5th. That's been the overwhelming sentiment from county managers across the state.
But don't they get off on the 4th of July anyway?
They get off on Thursday, the 4th,
And
and
that means working the 5th, or some people say, I'd like to work the 4th, and I'll take off on the 5th. I'll
And-
get Friday, Saturday, Sunday off instead of Thursday and then work Friday.
Well, couldn't people just take their
They
annual
could.
leave, and if they wanted to have Friday off? Because but then we have to decide as an office if we're actually going to be open.
correct.
Right. If we're gonna close down, we gotta talk about it.
So is that what you're asking?
All right.
I don't mind us being closed for that date. I mean, I think it would give people a long weekend, but I think that they'll have to take, if they want to get paid for it, they'll have to take some leave time or some whatever time they have.
I'm not sure how that works. Okay. We're either open or closed, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm simply saying, I agree that we should be closed. I think it would give people an opportunity to have a long weekend. But if you still need to have the equivalence of your check, then you might need to use annual leave on the 5th.
I'll
I'm
take
not-
favor of the party, whatever you guys want to do.
So, yeah,
You
I
can't
mean,
force people to take time off, so
no, I'm not telling you force them, but if we're not open,
they're relying on an 80-hour work paycheck, so.
so your recommendation is they come back to work on
Come back
Friday?
to work on
His
Friday,
recommendation is come back and work on Friday,
or take the day off as an annual day.
annual leave. Now,
Isn't that what I just said?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, I'd like to defer to the county manager on that one too, because I also know that they, we're gonna be off on Juneteenth, the 19th.
Correct.
And 4th of July.
Yeah, we
So
are
whatever you
off-
decide, you decide on that 5th.
We are off this Wednesday,
Right.
so the office will be closed Wednesday.
Yes,
Well, it's a federal holiday. You can't help but to be off.
right?
So do you need consensus for us whether or not we're gonna be open or closed on
Only
Friday?
if we're gonna change it. The
County's off.
4th of July is off, the 5th, everybody is working. If we're
Or they
gonna
can
change
take
that,
it out.
then we have to do something about it.
So while you were doing that, he was saying, or take annual leave. So you won't be penalized if you take annual leave on the 5th and take the day off?
Correct, you won't be, you can take the day off.
Okay,
It's a floating holiday.
we're all good then. Okay.
Yes, sir.
My items, Juneteenth. Thank you. I thought it was great that we did it. I think that the issue is heat. We've got to figure out a better way to be able to do that. There was a lot of people out there. I happened to be walking with the mayor, and he was telling people that the shade was free. They all jumped in. Yeah, thank you for that. So it was a good opportunity. I appreciate that. Right now, I'm glad we're all on the, most of us are on the curbside. We understand what we're doing. I think for sure that there's 4 of us are saying we're not doing curbside at all. I'd like to put my condolences to William and Steve for family members for what's happened recently. I want to thank Johnny and Dick for great presentations tonight, trying to get us ready to go and moving in the right direction. I'd like to make a comment about the FAA GDOT meeting. Last time I remember the FAA coming and meeting with us was a while ago, and they looked at us very pointedly and says, "We're not giving you money." And we all went, and it's taken 2 years or so to be able to get there. And they started off the meeting with, "We've got the money. Don't worry about it." So the meeting didn't last very long, and it was good that it happened that way. This is a big deal for us in getting the airport to move forward. All right. Anything else from you?
No, sir.
All right, at this time, I'd like to have a motion to move into executive session.
I got you. Motion to move into executive session for
Oh, I
consultation.
have to read, excuse me. Consultation with the county attorney or other legal counsels to discuss pending or potential litigation, settlement, claims, administrative proceedings, or other judicial actions brought or to be brought by or against the county or any officer or employee in which the county or any officer or employee may be directly involved as, provided by OCGA 501421, and to discuss the future acquisition of real estate property as provided by OCGA 5014-3-4.
So moved.
I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4.
She's going home.
All those opposed? 1. Thank you. We're going into executive session. We'll be back out here after executive session.
You don't want to do something. That's for my kids.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We just had enough. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to come out executive session.
There you
Excuse me,
go.
executive session, thank you. Second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. We're out of executive
Motion to
session.
adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
All right.
We're adjourned. Thank you.